This is how much we know about movies. We just if you want a raw review of movies, you're getting it right here because we don't know shit.
Dad! Oh, fuck, I don't know, man. Is that like nostalgia purposes for kids these age?
I don't give a shit. I don't care.
We get that, Pop.
Fine, I'll Google it. Through the magic
you don't
of podcasting.
have to Google it. I'm just saying, you just take it out.
No.
Not bring it out, or just be better prepared.
Shut your fucking mouth.
I am your father.
Man, sometimes I wish like things would stay at a simpler time mentality.
Welcome to the Two Dads Review podcast. We got an intro now, Corey. Did you like it?
It was surprisingly good, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you should feel proud of it.
I do just a little bit.
Like, I wouldn't be ashamed to stake my name to it. You know,
you have no choice. You're on half of it.
Like, hey, even if it was one of those things where it took like fourth place, like you didn't even get the medal, right? You'd be like, but everybody would be like, dude, don't feel bad about that. Like, that's a good one. Like, you're not settling. You're still good. Like, those other ones are just happen to be like, damn.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, like, but this was good. Like, when I listened to it, I was like, huh. I was like, oh, fucker was putting some work in over there or something, man. I was like, it's got it going on. I like it.
Saving some clips. The times where I laughed listening to it again. So yeah, I hope everybody liked our new intro. We'll put that on the front of every show, so it's all like, it sounds like we know what we're doing now, even though literally the first thing we say in the intro is that we don't know shit.
That is true. That is the very first thing.
Oh man, yeah, and apologies for how late this one's coming out. Kids bring home the flu and the fever, and everything shuts down. Like, I was sitting and just times didn't work out, and I'm sitting here on, like, I think we tried to record on Thursday night, and you were caught up with something with your dad, and like I could feel myself just like dying a little more every like 5 minutes behind my computer. I was like, I can't wait anymore. Like, I know that we're gonna talk for an hour and a half for no reason, and I like, by the time we get to the hour and a half, I will literally be asleep or dead, and there's nothing to it.
Yeah, that's when your body's like, I'm shutting you down whether you like it or not. Doesn't matter, man. You can ride this out and just roll with the fade, but either way, you're going down.
Yeah. I knew that was going to happen, so I was like, we'll just push it off. This episode, honestly,
there's not a whole lot to talk about.
There's not a whole lot to talk about, and there's not a lot. I don't know. I don't want to already start shitting on this season, but like, well, if you're not listening, if you haven't watched the episode, like, go watch it because I'm going to spoil it right now. But literally, like, ooh, androids. I'm like, and I'm lost. Like, I don't know where the fuck we are. I don't know what's going on. Like, because it's if you'd have told me we were like 200 years in the future, I would believe like sentient androids, but we're not. So like, I'm like, I don't know what are we on now? What are we doing? I have no clue.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like, you can get behind that because there was like 13 of these super fallout structures or some shit like that, and then there's like also like one Alpha Prime fallout structure left that will withstand anything, and there's some kind of creepy vampire-esque dude who, I don't know, does some kind of...
we were joking last week saying vampire. He's Michael Langdon, who is the Antichrist, who was the son of... What was Evan Peters' character in the first season? Pate?
No, is that him all grown up?
No, it's not him all grown up. Well, it's the baby. Yeah. But he's the Antichrist. He's the son of, as I'm pulling up the list right now, Vivian Harmon and Tate Langdon. So Michael Langdon is the baby. So he's the Antichrist. It's the one that she gave birth to.
Yeah, I get that. So the vampire guy, him all grown up.
Right. He's just not a vampire. He's just the Antichrist.
Whatever, dude. He still looks like a vampire. Like, he does. That's what they like.
He does look like Tom Cruise in Interview with the Vampire. Completely.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. I mean, even if that was the Antichrist, at this point, calling him the vampire dude, like,
I think we should.
There isn't. I mean, I'm saying like if you were next to the guy, like with all the weird shit that's just going down and how terrible things is, really, if my whole like truth or dare ceremony with the guy was getting away with calling him vampire dude or whatever, I would succeed because that would be the only thing I could call him. Would be like, yo, vampire dude. Like, I know you're the Antichrist, but like, either let me call you James because I can't just Prince of Darkness. Like, what do you want me to do, vampire guy?
Hey, vampire guy. Hey, vampire
like,
Bill.
It just stuck.
Right. Well, he did definitely take his look off of like every vampire in any of the hoity-toity vampires in any movie you've ever seen. So apparently,
but this is also why I personally like that I don't read anything into any show whatsoever, because I knew the show was about the Antichrist baby, but I didn't know when or where they were gonna like pick up or how like the storyline was going to bounce. So this guy coming in to me was just like a new player in the game. Like, I didn't realize that he was like basically the end all be all player in the game.
Right. I wonder why you would send out your Antichrist to do it himself if he's that important. Maybe he really isn't Michael Langdon. Maybe he's just using the name. Maybe people don't know. I don't know. Who knows? I always wonder. I have a few things going in my head, like, why would you send out your most important guy all by himself? Or maybe the fact that there really isn't anybody left, that he's just traveling around like, so this is what I get, huh? I get to inherit this. Okay, great. It's nothing. There's nobody. Just monsters who eat horses. Or I also have this. I mean, if we've seen the outside, I wonder if there's only like a small portion of the world that's like nobody, and everything else is kind of back to normal, and it's kind of like one of those, secluded community type things where there isn't any more outposts. It's just this one, and it's like a trial. It could be like everybody's being watched by who knows what.
I don't even understand anything you just said.
Come on, for it, like, you do this scenario.
Come on, like,
you do this.
Believe me,
what are you
I need
talking
you to
about?
get this.
It's what am I trying to think of with Jim Carrey? Oh fuck,
are you talking like an Evan Almighty kind of thing? Like,
yeah,
where
but
all
like
these
the
people,
better one,
or not Evan Almighty, but
right.
Oh,
I know what
God.
you mean.
Damn it! That pisses me off.
The Truman Show.
Yes, the Truman Show.
I didn't even have to finish my Google. Yeah. I mean, what if it's one of those scenarios? Because all we've seen, yes, we saw the plane with the bomb go off. I understand that. And that really is not going to be faked. But, like, the two kids, like, I don't know. Maybe there was one bomb that went off. I'm pretty sure we're in an apocalypse scenario, but it could be one of those twists.
You kind of have to believe it is, because it says, like, on the show, like 2 weeks later, 6 months
18
later,
months later,
9 months later. Like, I think the only reason you do that is because you just, I mean, obviously you have to show the length of time that has passed, but why would you do that?
If not to secure the fact that it was all
from
gone.
Like an outside perspective, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it was they're on a TV show and everyone's watching, like, I guess because, I don't know, then it would have to be, we're still a viewer, right? Like, we're not really on the inside. Those are all just camera angles we're seeing.
Meh, maybe. I'm not saying that it's like a TV show. It could be one of those enclosed experiment type things. I don't know, but it's probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I could just see a dumb. Well, hey, you know what? I don't put any dumb twist out from this show. For them to pull back the curtain and be like, yep, look, everything's fine. But it's not, at least right outside, it's not fine. There is radiation, theoretically. I mean,
Yeah, as long as she doesn't have it turned up to 10.
Right, just making anybody pop that pops, right? Yeah. So this episode is pretty much WTF at the very end, and Evan Peters' like softcore porn debut. I'm not even debut, really, but I mean, he was definitely into it. It was definitely his show this time.
Yeah, I mean, this was essentially weekend waiting for your parents to go to bed and like go to the Cinemax channel because like Hot Springs Hotel or something is on, and you know.
Right.
They're like, hey, I get to see boobies.
Boobies, we got this. I'll be fine.
There we go. I'm good. You know.
Right.
We get a little Evan Peters ass.
And
him talking some shit, some cock grabbing, like it's not bad stuff, but it was like just kind of solid 30 of good old softcore eroticism.
Well, and what scares me, and I was reading about this before we started recording, what scares me is that, and we talked about this in last episode, there's only 10 episodes this season, not like the standard 12 or 13. And this is almost an episode I would expect further down the middle of a 13 episode season where you just got kind of like a one that kind of churns along. You know, you've only got 10 episodes. So if you have one that doesn't really take us very much further, but something that you could have done in like the first 20 minutes of the episode, you took an entire episode to do it in. It's like, okay, guys, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? Because you got 10 episodes, so now we're down to 8, and you blew it. You pretty much wasted an entire episode. So either you don't have enough story, or I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. It's just because I hate when an episode is almost reliant upon the next episode for you determine go, oh, okay. Like,
now I get it.
Yeah,
right.
Thanks. Without a to be continued like thrown in there, like, oh, I get what they're doing now. My bad. I was so slow to catch up to the dominoes falling. Like, good on you, writers. Or is it one of those things where you watch the next one and you go, so none of
right.
That last little scene was the whole thing, right?
Because we were fooled.
Okay, thanks.
We were fooled with that kind of thinking last season, where we're like, okay, this episode was kind of weak, but I'm sure it's going to mean all this stuff next episode, and the next episode comes along, and you're like, that's the next episode? That's what you're going to follow that pile of horse shit up with? Great. Thanks. Good go, guys. Yeah. We got hurt last season with that shit. So
I don't know. It's almost like American Horror Story is at the point now where it has to be binge watched. Like, you just
binge watch, yeah.
To really maybe to like truly appreciate it, you just need to have like a 3-hour experience, or just like a weekend of, or a, you know, whatever, however your method of mayhem is. So you can be like, so it's always fresh, and or whatever, or like the story is still just kicking into that high up and down gear throughout. Right. But I feel like with this week wait, it's almost as if they've, I don't want to say like written to a level that they can't write above.
They hit a glass ceiling, right?
But I feel like the hype train has almost made it impossible for them to ever like put anything on paper now, and for people to act out that you almost just kind of feel underwhelmed, right? Because it's not long enough. Like what they're trying to do, it's like these episodes need to be an hour or whatever, you know, something like. I think that's almost kind of the problem too now. But then again, we could watch, you know, this coming episode here 3 and be like, damn, fuck, all right. And oh shit, dude, hey man, let me go get back down on Evan Peters here, and I'm gonna totally take everything just like he did, because that was the best shit I have ever seen in my life. Like, give me that kind of crap all the time, blah blah blah, you know. I
would love to see that. And when we said that, I feel like we're echoing ourselves. You're drinking out of the same wrestling cup you're drinking out of last year, and we're saying the same shit we said this year, that last year with Cult. But
isn't that kind of like always going to happen though with these kind of shows?
Possibly.
Like, they are in either a show you hate and you just like fucking flat out are like, I'm not an American Horror Story fan, or you're one of those people that is like the blindest of faithful people to ever watch the show. Right. And then there's this final minuscule group of people that actually, I think, like dwarfs both of the other groups, is the people that go, oh man,
I want to be on board so hard.
Yeah, like they it's like they've convinced themselves, and I think I'm guilty of this, of like almost just blindly like having to like the show, where you're like, I know I'm gonna like this, like this is gonna be great, like this is all gonna add up, and like every time you're just like blah 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 blah. But like this kind of show, I think just feeds that into like most people. Is it does a great job maybe one season for you, and that one season in this type of show where it's always changing but it's the same crew, like gets put on its own little pedestal, and every subsequent season, or even if you go back and watch like a previous one, you're like, still ain't as good as blah blah blah, and like every time you watch it now, it just never does the same thing for you. It's like that high you can't get, but you're like, I can't hate it either because it really wasn't that fucking bad. It's like, it's not so bad that I just went, ugh, I'm fucking, thank you God for putting me out of my fucking misery.
Right. And that's the best thing, or that's the worst thing, is I don't want anybody listening to this to think that we're just going to sit here, that we want to sit here and shit on the show. Like, we enjoy American Horror Story. We have plenty of seasons in the past that we're like, I really like this season. I'm watching the 8th season of this show because I believe in it and will watch every season of it. And I think I know they're going to bring it in at some point, but like, I know there's the Coven crowd who's coming to this season going like, yes, like Emma Roberts is going to be in it. It's going to be awesome. And now here we are in episode 2 and like, no Emma Roberts, still just getting it on her name is just in the credits. That's all. It's like, okay, we know she's coming.
I wonder if it's going to be one of these things where it's like this sequence gets one more episode, and then it'll be like episode 4, black screen, and then all of a sudden it's 30 years prior, and then
I don't know,
they get 3 episodes, and then there's 3 episodes for whatever, say the Coven crew, or however they fall into the mix, right? And then the final episode is where like all of those stories you got meld finally into one timeline, and you get to see like that last little piece where all 3 of those segments made you go, ooh, well, tell me fucking, oh, and then that final episode, it's like all comes together, you just get to watch it fluently.
Right.
In one linear timeline.
That sounds amazing. I bet you that's not what happens. All right, so let's talk about the show a little bit. Let's go through the plot of the show. So this one's titled The Morning After, since the first episode was called The End. So of course that's the end of, the world as we know it. So the morning after, this is the start of, everything's settling into place. We know everything that happened in episode 1. And so we start in Emily's room. She's getting undressed from her awesome purple outfit with her super hot undergarments. Like they are period. The people who made this outpost, it's like, we're going to have period correct underwear for what you guys are going to be wearing. Like, it's like the white, like frilly with like, I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we in these outfits?
Yeah, that's, I don't get that either. Like, for show purposes, I completely understand it. Like, it is a cool atmosphere to create, and just, it's a weird vibe.
And it looks amazing on camera.
Yeah, and it looks super sweet. But then I also kind of think about the insane money that these people had like spent. And I know that apparently that this post the rules have been changed by the Madam of the House. Mm-hmm. So I don't know but I can't imagine that she redid the architecture and, the feng shui of the whole place without anybody knowing
that way.
Yeah, right. So, but I feel like the amount of money that went into this, like, at no point someone along the way wouldn't have been like, where's the whole media server with the whole backup of the United States Archive? So at least we have
good movies,
fucking-tainment for the next goddamn millennia.
Right.
Right.
Well, I don't know. How about you just go to Walmart and just buy some Walmart jeans and t-shirts, maybe go to Old Navy when they had the $4 t-shirt sale, and then put the rest of the money, I don't know, towards more food than 18 months of a radioactive wasteland. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it just seems like a very poorly thought out
That's what you get when you put the rich in charge of shit.
short plan. Dude. The rich, man.
Oh, boy.
Like, no, there's some dude that you can just blatantly be mad at. You're like, you're just a terrible person, and I understand how you got rich. Like, you were a cutthroat motherfucker, and you just didn't care about who you shat on or stepped on along the way, and that's who you are.
Right.
I get that. And then it's like, there's other people that are just rich that have never done anything wrong in their life. Like maybe they inherited it or they went about it in an honest living and they're just rich, right? Like, but you just kind of inherently hate them because they're a little better off than you. You know, you're like, ah. And I always wonder, I'm like, is it really that there are that many stupid rich people? Or is it there are that many people that had convinced themselves that they are a lot smarter than they really are, or they just think they'll achieve harder than they ever really will?
Yeah, I don't know. You're like, how could you be so stupid and so rich? I'm not stupid and I'm not rich.
Yeah, or you look at some of the ideas that have made people bank and you just go, maybe I am stupid. Like, how the fuck did I not think of that? Oh my God. You're telling me it's 2018 and that did just,
right.
You gotta be kidding me.
So moving on from our anger at rich people, I just want to kind of touch on, you're in your room getting undressed in a candlelit room and suddenly something makes all the candles go out and your immediate response is to light one and not get the fuck out of your room. And I'll give you lighting. Okay, let's just say that it's a drafty place and this happens. Maybe you did that the first night, but you've been there for 18 months and it happens, once a week when the draft catches, right? Okay, yeah, dude. But you go to light that candle back up and that the sound of the closet behind you opens and your next step isn't to get the fuck out.
Well, two things there. I don't care if the candles have ever been put out by a draft before, right? None of the candles have ever been put out in subsequent order in one fell swoop without one of them still flickering or something. Like this one was just and then out. Like no draft has ever come through that room and done that ever. Right. And that you should have immediately
moved your candles.
Either went full Jagger Joyner Kersey and just got the hell out of there, took off, or possummed your fucking way. Because those are your only two options at that point. Because any in between movement, I feel just made you immediate prey. So you could have maybe faked your death,
falling with your stomach up and vomit, right?
Yeah.
Nice. But she doesn't do either of these things. She literally takes her lit candle and goes to inspect the door that just opened on its own. Okay, smart move there. Good to go. And
yeah, and this isn't even what are you doing, girl thing, and or trying to knock that she's a super tough character. I don't give a fuck who you are. That could have been Superman and Wonder Woman, just back to back, ready to show down with people, and the candles went out like that, and I'd been like, y'all should have flew the fuck away. Right. That was something a little more powerful than you.
Hey, at least she goes down and checks for feet, which is pretty smart. If you do, you go down because you can't hide legs. I don't know what you're gonna do when you find legs, other than possum yourself out.
Yeah.
But you're like, and I've shit myself. Thank you. I'm running now.
Yeah, that's always a terrifying scenario, is reaching through something. I don't care what it is. Mm-hmm. If you can't see the end of it or feel it, or I guess also the proper lighting needs to be involved too, because I don't care if it's not bright enough, you're going, I'm not sticking my hand in there. I've been in that. I've literally sat in the back of that. I know what the fuck's there. I just opened it yesterday. Literally yesterday. Too dark. Not fucking touching it.
That's right. That could be said for parts of the house. Like, I'm not going in there because the light switch is way over there. I'll be there in the morning when there's enough ambient light to show me what's in between there and here.
Yeah, my parents the other day just found out after, I think it's like 8 years they've been in that house, that there's one room that was like my grandmother's room that she would stay in when she came in. Mm-hmm. And I hated that room. Like, I would only walk in that room on like the brightest of days in the middle of the day. Like at night, I would walk over there just to shut the door. And even then, when I would like shut the door, I was hallway light was on. I was like, not walking over there by myself. Right. Not happening. Yeah. Don't fuck with that shit.
I hear you. It turns out to be a snake in the top of the dresser of the whatever it is. It's not a dresser. It's what's it called that has the clothes hangers? Wardrobe. Yeah, we'll call it that. Mm-hmm. And so she screams. Tim rushes in, and suddenly she's in the floor, and she's not surrounded by one snake, but like a shit ton of snakes. And so he grabs in, and we go to our next what the fuck moment. You drag her to the bed, not out the fucking door, so you're not surrounded by snakes. Come on, man.
Yeah, I didn't understand why his first instinct was to usher in, like instead of outward. Like, why you were coming in to rescue, dude. Like, why would you keep that momentum? Like, the getaway was there.
Right. I mean, to be honest with you, I would be hanging from the door frame, like, grab my hand because I'm not coming in there.
Yeah, I would have like grabbed the top of it and like swung in with my feet and like grab him, pulled her back in,
All I can see is you on the top of the door, like hanging on it, and then the door just kind of stops swaying where you can't get anywhere.
Yeah. Just stuck.
You're like, and now what do I do? So they're on the bed, and I only can call her tall guard lady because they haven't given her a name yet. Her and Miss Mead come in. They're all like, oh, where'd the snakes get in? And they just start hacking off snake heads, and Miss Mead's talking about good eating. She's like, there's a little bayou in her.
Yeah, it's from
Coven.
Not Happy Gilmore. Oh, shit. Coven too, if you would go back with that character. And then I was also thinking...
You are thinking...
Waterboy.
Waterboy. Yeah. But she starts saying they could have come in, they could have burrowed in the ground, coming through the vents, but they didn't.
And then, and she was like, who knows how far down they would have went and how long, like... I just feel if the radiation has already created radioactive cannibal people or people that are willing to down a raw horse, those snakes are in no way edible.
Yeah, and it's been 18 months.
Even though she's like, I'll scan them,
Yeah, they didn't spend 18 months underground, like burrowing down to your lair. Like so they didn't come from above ground. So then we're in the dining room. Mallory and the other waitstaff, all the Greys, are rolling in a big giant stew pot, and they're all carrying each individual bowl with the tops on it. And, we snakes on the menu. Coco starts talking about how she doesn't eat anything with no legs or too many legs. And then we start having some like stew jokes. They're like, but you eat something with 2 legs just fine.
Yeah. I like at this point, all he did was just give a middle finger. Like, he's not even, like, you can tell that they have made that joke or have like picked on that because they just don't fucking care anymore, that he's now like numb to it, where it's just a middle finger response.
Yeah. He's like, I know, we ate my boyfriend. It just happens. Thanks, guys.
Still funny, guys. Okay. Gotcha.
Dinah Stevens, Adina Porter's character, she gives another one of her like, we got to look through it, face adversity, head on, and we'll, take what's coming to us, and we'll be thankful for the food that we have or whatever. And for my notes, I made sure I copied down and Googled everything that Evie said, partially because she's awesome, but even more what happens at the end of the episode. I was like, fuck, because I love her. Mm-hmm. So she talks about, I love everything she hits. Every time she's ever spoken this entire show, any of these 2 episodes has been like a story. So she's like, I remember having eaten snake before at the royal court in Kuala Lumpur with Gina Lollobrigida. And so I had to Google who she was. I was like, is that really a person? And she ends up being a Italian actress and photojournalist. She's kind of made a name for herself for getting an exclusive interview with Fidel Castro back in the 70s. So, I mean, she was like somebody. So, hey, good for her. In fact, I think she's still alive. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, she's still alive. She's like 91. But yeah, so it's kind of funny to have your name dropped in American Horror Story. But
yeah, but like, how cool would that be to have an interview with like someone of that stature, good or bad, right?
I was gonna say, are you gonna clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, right.
Like I'm sure someone interviewed Hitler a few times, but shit.
Also during like the height of it, and then coming back even 30 years later, 40 years later, realizing that something you did is still of that much like significance, right? Like how crazy would that fucking be?
Right. And then Emily brings up the fact that last episode, the alarms went off, so they know someone came into the compound, and so she asked, she asked Miss Venable who she has in her office, and Miss Venable kind of parlays the question. She doesn't really answer it at all.
Yeah, she was very political with that one, in the most snakiest of snake ways. Like I'm gonna just say a bunch of things with authority in my voice and skirt around everything and just leave you all going, wait, did she? No, she didn't. Wait, no, she didn't answer that. You didn't fuck it. And then she's already gone. Yep.
And when they were serving out the soup, we saw that the snakes were all cut up. But when they opened the tops of their bowls in front of them, all the live snakes come out, all back together again. So something magic is afoot, of course, which is why I talk about, Emma Roberts maybe or whatever, or if it's something deeper than that. And by my sleuthy investigation, we know where the snakes come from, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. So not really that big of a deal. Kind of makes sense. So,
okay.
So everybody, the next scene, they're in the hallway. Emily and Tim are kind of discussing, we saw them go from chopped up to alive. What the fuck's going on around here? And then they're kind of holding each other because they're together. And Miss Mead comes around the corner and they just kind of not doing anything. We're just going to go back and...
We all understand we were just caught, but we're going to walk away.
Yep, you're not going to do anything because you didn't walk in on me inside of her, so you can't kill me yet.
Yeah. Just pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, right. So everybody's in the library, just kind of waiting. And this is when Langdon enters and introduces himself to the crowd, to the group. He briefs everybody on the fact that I think they're either... He said the other outposts in America are on their way out or they've already been overrun. So I think this is the last outpost. The ones overseas they haven't heard from, so they're probably all messed up too. So, and he talks to him about the sanctuary and the fact that he's there to choose who's worthy. What are you laughing about? What'd I say?
Schwanktuary.
Did I really?
Dude, I'm pretty sure you did.
Nice.
I was like,
to be honest,
I was like schwanktuary. I was like, that's so awesome.
To be honest, it probably is a schwanktuary.
Yeah, right.
If they're already in like super period perfect clothing that costs way too much money than the food they could afford, and in just a standard outpost, the schwanktuary has to be way, way hoity-toity, man.
Yeah, I wonder what that final spot looks like.
Yeah, well, I also don't think it exists, but that's another theory I don't think it exists. Time will tell.
I'll hear this theory.
I just don't think it's there. I don't think there's anything. I think this is it. It's just something to pass the time.
Oh, so like we're just seeing this from like a bird's eye point of view.
Well, the next question is, shit.
Or like, or like a fly on the wall kind of thing. And like, we're just going to watch, say, hey, we just happen to be in the area where the Antichrist decided to fuck with these 6 people who thought they had made it out of the shit.
That we think those. I mean, here's the next question: how many of these people are actually people? Now the end of the episode happens. Like how many are real?
Yeah. Okay. Well, even then. Okay. Well,
that could be even worse. Is it just an Adam and Eve scenario with Tim and Emily?
Touche. Like even then, are we just saying? Okay, never mind. Now that you said Adam and Eve with them, it really doesn't matter about the other players.
True.
If he's there as, say, the snake with the apple, and it's them two, none of the other players matter. They're just here for story purposes.
Right, and we never and
that's why it's this like, I guess that's just what we happen to see of John on Tuesday. Right?
And we never saw the other folks actually arrive. But then Evie gets killed and she's all bloody. So, I don't know. But they also whip Evan Peters down. I don't know, dude.
But I mean, I'm saying like even though they're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you said Adam and Eve scenario.
Right.
I was just like, suggesting, so are you just saying that we're just watching the end of the days and this is like the Antichrist? Let's say that's what he is, right? And he just happens to be there fucking with this group of people, and like that's the fly on the wall. Like there's like no real significance. I was suggesting that, like, that's why some of the episodes, or so far the 2 episodes, just kind of like a day in the life of, and a month passing kind of thing. Like it's just, hey, we're here. But then when you said Adam and Eve scenario, I was like, oh, all right. Well, then none of the other players are there, and we're just happening to actually be fly on the wall in this, kind of catching bits and pieces of everybody's story. So like when Evan Peters was just boogie down and then killing his fucking grandma later, like he could have maybe if we want to put some kind of crazy story into it, like representing one of the sins, and that's what all the other players are somehow.
Ooh.
Right? But I don't think we have enough of that, and too many people have already been knocked off too quickly.
Right.
For that scenario to play out. So it literally is just really about those kids and that guy, and the interactions he's having with all these other people is us just kind of watching the devil's hand at work.
Right, especially if we build up those two. If he's manipulating the whole group enough that those two like choose, if he helps them in some way later on down the road, like right now he's setting up all these obstacles that they're gonna get through together, and that it's gonna bring the two of them as close as two people can be. We already know they have lust and love for each other, but going to bring them even closer together. So they're doing all their snooping, they're trying to get out, and this could be all his play. And then as soon as they are in a spot where they can't get out of, he'll swoop in and be like, he'll save them, making him on their side. And then if there is a sanctuary, that sanctuary could literally be their Garden of Eden, and they're the two starting, and he is the god of that one, Antichrist or whatever you want to call him, but he's that to them, and they follow him no matter what. That could be cool. Could be a great story.
So you're saying like
the next episodes are going to be all people, everyone else getting knocked off. That's his plan, is to get everybody else killed, and those two are going to think they're in control of it, but it's all been him setting up from the beginning.
Well, yeah, I got that. But wouldn't Jesus have to be involved in this in some way, shape, or form?
Well, if there's an Antichrist, there has to have been a Christ. Does he have to get back involved in it?
Well, I kind of thought like the whole story with the Antichrist was like comes around, manipulates the world. That's why there's like the rapture, because all the good people they get to skip this part of the whole world-ending scenario of the worst of the worst, while the Antichrist wreaks his reign, and then Jesus comes in and saves the day, and blah 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 blah.
Well, does it look like that's happening? No.
Well, yeah, like obviously, like we're really in the thick of when the Antichrist is just swooping across and killing everything in the world, and blah blah blah, and it's all pestilence and wrath and destruction and decay. But I just kind of feel the way they're doing it. Mm-hmm. If this is the Antichrist, like they're not pulling like a Neil Gaiman and like he's made his own little subsequent like alternate reality kind of thing, and it's luring them. Like, I could see if you said he comes in and gives them like a choice where it's, you know, save yourself or save her, or both of you can be saved if you know, choose him, like say, hey, eat this apple that I said never fucking touch, by the way, you know, kind of thing. And then he wins and that was the game or something like that. But I don't know if they're going to go like way off. I don't know. I mean, they go fucking crazy sometimes, especially with like, now that I'm thinking of Asylum with like the aliens, because they just threw that in there out of nowhere, you know? So maybe there is some kind of alternate reality. Like, I was kind of thinking you would just kind of see, you know, a test. Like, he would have just been, instead of it just simply being do not eat an apple, like this is basically the devil with his kids to play, and these two children are the two saviors of mankind, and hey, the devil doesn't play fair, so his kid already comes stacked with superpowers and all this other shit. And basically we just get to see, like, do they get to be good people? Do they choose the right things, even with all this weird shit happening from this other guy? And you kind of then maybe get like the, oh, hey, we're going to make it. Or is this just literally going to watch the devil kind of just
win?
Hey, this is just kind of what I do on Fun Time. Snakes in closets, snake soup, weird grandma stabbing nightmares, man. Like, that thing, you were fucking not me. Don't know who it was, just made it.
Well, and Michael Langdon could also just have been raised to believe he was the Antichrist. Maybe he's not really an Antichrist, and all he knows, or his powers just come from standard witchcraft. You know what I mean? And I'll bring that up a little bit later when I get to the screenshots I pulled down, because it's really just kind of like, you know, satanic witchcraft shit. So anyways, okay. All right. So what are we doing? Library, he's talking to him. He also says he's going to test everybody or interview everybody to see who's worthy. Gallant, Evan Peters' character, volunteers to go first. Then he also explains to them, Langdon does, that if things get too bad and you're going to be overrun, here's some pills. Like, take one of these pills, you'll be asleep in a minute, you'll never wake up. You'll die. Here you go. So this will make things not so harsh. You won't get torn apart by monsters.
Yeah, and that's also, did you say after he explained to them that, like, hey, not all of you may be going?
Right.
Right, like, so this was like a dickish sympathy move at the same time. Like, hey, didn't pick you. But if you really don't want to deal with the bullshit, I am going to leave you a way out.
Right.
Like, that's such a... like, I always ponder that, especially with bad people, right? Like, is that you being a good person? Saying, like, hey, I'm going to actually let you not suffer if you choose to. Like, I'm cool. Or is that you being like a dick, like going... It is literally about to be so fucking terrible for you that you're going to want to put this bullet in your brain. Like, right. I always wonder, like, what way people are swaying on that one, like in the movies when they kind of do that. Because I always feel like they make most of the time that person, like, it's just a vindictive thing. Where I almost think it's way cooler when there's a whole lot of swagger. Like, hey, beat you so bad. Here's a bullet for you just in case. Like, you brought all this on yourself, man.
Right. And I could see, especially if he's the way I think he could be, those could even just be like sugar pills. Like, here, take this and you're not going to go to sleep and it's still going to suck ass, but it's going to be hilarious. We're going to talk about it at the Schwanktuary. So after he takes, he then walks out and he leaves the library and they all start to argue. Coco, Gallant, she's like, kind of like how Coco turns to Gallant, she's like, way to volunteer first. And Evie's like, they always say in Hollywood, either be the first one or the last one. and then Coco and her start going at it because of how old she is, and Evie here says that she's like, well, I guess you might think 52 is old.
Yeah.
But then in the next sentence, she starts talking about how she remembers a wonderful lunch that she had at Dan Tana's with Natalie Wood. Now, because I love her and I did some Googling, so Dan Tana's is a restaurant in Hollywood, of course, and I went to their menu. I mean, we're talking, like $75 plates, upwards of $75. I mean, I looked at it and I was like, I would go here, anniversary type stuff, but she's eating lunch there. So come on. I mean, it's a hoity-toity restaurant, but it opened in like 64. So if you do the math, there's no way she could have had lunch there if she was 52, which is just hilarious. That she doesn't care. She doesn't care what she says because things just come out and they're expected because of her stature in the old world that everything's supposed to be just taken as of course it's true.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just thought that was
how
funny.
she pulled in that whole, like, when she was arguing, talking about how she's old and everything, and she's like, well, I have all the knowledge and I'll be the one to usher them in, She's like, you have what? You know how to work a phone? Like, blah, blah, blah.
True. Of all the folks who be worried about what they're worth, it's Coco. No one's bringing her anywhere.
Yeah, man, but it was funny because, the grandma was like, I'm a survivor. Well, she's dead.
Maybe.
But like...
I have hope.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, I know, but I watch every episode and I take it as that is the final.
Yeah, I know.
Until I'm told otherwise.
Wah, wah.
No, that's what makes like a good story. Like, I don't want to sit there and go, oh, well, what if they're in a rabbit hole, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, like, I go, all right, they were killed this episode. I get why they were. Totally makes sense. Like, some kind of crazy paranoia thing. Like, maybe they're going to dive. Like, I'll go, ooh, maybe they're going to dive a little further into this kind of hysteria thing that's happening to people with this weird, like, I'm seeing shit and things appearing and getting all kinds of spooky like that. But very rarely do I ever go to the, how are they going to bring them back? Like, or dun, 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 like soap opera thing. Like, are they really dead? Like, no. That bitch was stabbed 30 fucking times
with a pair of scissors that are always on the bedside table
by her super angry grandson. Like, she's dead.
Hopefully it's all just in his mind.
Right, like the third episode is us almost like reliving something, but like realizing that it's like just a moment of deja vu for him, and then they go over to someone else and tell like a equally as fucked up story, and then the next episode is someone like them having a equally deja vu moment, and then it pans over to the next person and we see their equally fucked up trial.
No, because that would really suck, because that would really mean the show literally goes nowhere the entire season and ends like on the last episode after we go through each person, and then it's over, and it would have gotten us nothing and showed us no arc, no anything, and that would not be good.
I'm saying, but that's what that's what I was kind of getting back to earlier, again, before you said the Adam and Eve thing, and it really made me like kind of really think that shit, that may be, ooh, that's a good storyline, especially with those two being so kind of in love and naive with each other, and then here comes like the dark looming figure who's gonna try to ruin whatever it is. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, cool take on the old story. I like it. Get it. Got it. But what if like my scenario is something that it is where I'm not saying it's that kind of crazy rewind deja vu shit, right? But it's just, hey, we just see everybody, and it's just literally like week 75 of what is a 7-year-long fucking plague upon the earth, right? Before all the good shit happens. So like, really, what if this is, for all crazy things, like just a fucked up story, right? Like it's none of this has any significance. Like, this was just what was going on during the mid. Like, we have no idea what happened really at the beginning, other than the planes going down and some kind of people took shelter and all hell broke loose. But then we have these large jumps in time. So we don't know how many more like those we may get. But yeah, like, what if it's just like War Journal Day 195. No one still noticed me yet in the corner of the gray wall, but weird latex guy fucked the shit out of this dude, and then he stabbed his grandma. like right. What if that is it? It's just, this is just kind of the part of the story we picked up on this random group of people out in the middle of nowhere during the middle of the fucking end of the world. Because, like, I would not put it past them to do that, where it's just, hey, this is probably how shit's going to go down if and when there really is an apocalypse, because we're all worthless fucking people. So, hey, here's a glimpse into the future of what your fucking Tuesday may be like if you do happen to fucking get through.
Right. I hope it's not like that, because I feel like it's kind of a cheap way out. Like, it is just, if the end of your season, the synopsis of that season turns out to be, or like the byline of that season's like, it doesn't really fucking matter. Like, that's not how it should, like, that's the worst way to end a season. Like, you just watch them for a few weeks. Fuck it. Like, that's not how it should be. That's the worst thing to do.
I know, and it's because of the open-endedness that they're just notorious for with shit. That okay, if you and I end up really kind of being disappointed, or even like last year where we're like, I don't understand the story. Like, the story was really, really stupid, but if I'm going to just judge it on the acting that happened on the screen and actually kind of what I thought of the characters, all in all, you did a good job. Like, but I'm not happy with it. Like, that would, God, this pains me to fucking say it. But, like, it wouldn't matter, you know? Like, it would, okay. Like, what? But I think if we get a good season, you're right. Like, we'll have a final. Like, if we end up liking the season, it's because we'll go, oh, they wrapped that up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, there was a couple throwaway things in here, but honestly, that could have ended in 2 days or fucking 900 days from now. Whatever. Like, I know that blah, 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 world saved, or blah, 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 world's ended. Got it. But if it is, like, if we just go, this was season was whatever, yeah, like, it's because it was open-ended, like I'm saying. That's when I think, we'll go, okay, they're just gonna kind of tell us cool daily stories, maybe, you know, or like just kind of weird things that go on in the middle of times. Like, we'll have to understand that none of these stories are the beginning and the end. Like, they're just picked out of time and space and go, boom, hey, watch this.
Yeah, well, okay, but that's already being done better in single episode chunks, like in not Altered Carbon, that's not the right one. I knew I'd blank as soon as I started talking about it.
Are you talking about like Black Mirror?
Yeah,
and
Black
shit,
Mirror,
where it's like
and,
those,
and
like,
Amazon,
like those episodic, like where it's like each one is
just its own thing,
just its own thing, and they're kind of freaky and weird and
right, or
just different.
Yeah, Black Mirror, and there's one on Amazon.
I thought it was Altered Carbon.
No, that's an actual that is an Amazon show, but it's a regular old series. That's a 13 episode show. There it's called.
There's another one. I know which one you're talking about.
It's like called like Bionic Sheep or something like that.
Bionic Sheep.
I swear to God,
it's most certainly not called Bionic Sheep.
Electric Dreams is the name of the show. It's actually based on
not Black Sheep.
No, Electric Sheep is what I said, but it's actually based on. Oh, fuck it, whatever. It's the same kind of thing. It's got a little bit more of a sci-fi tinge to it than Black Mirror does. I know Black Mirror has its sci-fi episodes, but this one's all kind of in that realm. But it's pretty much Amazon's shot at Black Mirror type stuff. So these are being done better already. So, and you can't take an entire season to just give you this is just this little story of this that really at the end of it all doesn't, just because the people tie together later on or before or tie back to, or we see folks from other seasons, like characters. I know we see the same people all the time, but I mean characters, like big deal. Like, it's tell it better. Tell a better story. Tell a cohesive, engaging apocalypse story. Please.
I hope so. I mean, I hope that's what they're doing.
Tell a cohesive, engaging cult story, which you did not do.
Yeah, well, that's why, like I said earlier, I hate having to be reliant on the next episode to determine if I like this episode. It's so annoying.
Right, I know. So the next scene, what did you think of Gallant's interview with Langdon? He was asking him about, he was telling him up front that if you lie, if you try to trick me, if you try to hedge the system of this interview, I'll know. So he asked him, his first question's his sexual orientation. And so Gallant gets into his whole, I'm gay, but I've had sex with a girl and I fit. And if we're trying to repopulate the earth, I can do that. Don't rule me out.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know if that was to show that if he's such a pushover, right?
He just wants to survive.
We've only seen him do what needs to be done. He just was oh, hey, heard you had open spots. I'm here. Right? Oh, all right, you told me not to lie. Sure, fuck it. What do I have to lose at this point? Or was that guy supposed to be a master manipulator and piercing into him and it was I'll know, blah, blah, blah.
Nah, I think anybody else.
I feel like he was just for show, right? That was what he was going to put on. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is if he's the Antichrist, was that speech there to kind of make us think that was sway was involved and that's why he was so open? Or is it kind of what I was saying where it's just, he was I know you're a guy that's a survival dude or whatever, or at least I think it is. So I'm going to tell you that I'll know you're lying. I know this. Or he's just still trying to be the mysterious guy. And Gallant's just dude, whatever. I'm a fucking open book because I just want to get through.
I would lean more towards Gallant for this one.
Okay.
I'm not sure Gallant can be. I think he's so happy to have any day he has currently because of what happened and the fact that he was lucky enough to hear the phone call with Coco and her dad and actually get onto the plane and escape being killed. So every day he lives is a day he shouldn't have in the first place. It's just by sheer luck that he's there. So when he goes to this interview, it's hey, I'll just tell you the whole truth. Hopefully it's what you want to hear. If not, I guess I'm taking one of them pills. But he tells him the truth. And then Langdon goes and asks about his anger towards his grandmother. And we get the whole backstory of how she wanted him to be the perfect gay. And we get a flashback to her having a dinner party with three different gay men who was they were doctors and lawyers.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, I don't know, I guess it almost just if anybody was trying to
set somebody up.
Set somebody up or have a trophy showroom of people, if
this is my collection of gays.
Well, right, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it was. It was well, my grandson's gay, so I'm going to try to set him up with at least, because that was her way of accepting it, at least, was then if I can control this and set him up with a gay doctor or the gayest number one of any top profession in the world,
And truth be told, maybe she wasn't even trying to set him up as much as I have my own gay here in the house. Let me have you guys over and we'll have this whole the perfect little, gay party of everybody and it'll be just the most fabulous thing ever. And so he walks in and he's a leather, the stereotypical leather gay biker, wife beater, leather pants, leather cap. He's got a boom box and he turns it on and it starts playing Relax, Don't Do It by Frankie Goes to Hollywood, which is great. And he puts on a gas mask and he's like, is this Bisque? I fucking love Bisque. And he sits down and have you ever worn a gas mask in your life?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's that feeding/drinking tube in there, right? So what he was doing is actually it actually exists, and so he plugs in the drinking tube and just sticks it in the soup and just starts sucking. I was that was the greatest thing.
Quite honestly, dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. When he walked in like that, I honestly thought he was just about to start masturbating right there in front of everybody at the table.
That was last season.
Was like,
we got Evan Peters beaten off last season.
I was like 2 years in a row. Like I honestly thought it was coming, man.
Right. So then Gallant asked Langdon if he's gay. Langdon, I'm not sure if it was like he didn't like show that he was uncomfortable, but he was like he just says you need to get it. Like he like opens the door. He's like you can leave now. So it definitely wasn't acceptance or any sort of like come on to Gallant.
Yeah, no, but I also think Langdon is supposed to literally be the most fluid of fluid people of anything that you could identify with that walks on two legs at this point. He is down with and ready to just hang the fuck out. Yeah, like he don't give a shit.
Yep.
Like, you could be a hot woman. You could be one of those gremlin people out there. But like, if you were the one that put off that right kind of fucking vibe, he'd be like, all right, let's do it.
Let's do it. I got that one in this wardrobe.
Yeah.
So next one, we're in Tim's room, I think, because it doesn't look like the room that all the snakes were in. They're making out, Tim and Emily. Emily starts talking about wanting to leave the outpost and kind of go out on their own, steal a couple of the hazmat suits and some food and just head out. She's like, Langdon got in, so there's got to be somewhere else to go to. He made it. How come we couldn't make it as two of us? She's like, there's got to be something in Langdon's room to tell us if there's anything to do outside of the world, like on the outside. Maybe we'll find something there. She's like, she thinks that they're smarter than Langdon, and she thinks they should prove it. So that's always good. Even though they don't know he's the Antichrist, let's just go up against the guy you guys have known for one day, like, and think that you can know more than he does.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's like, what would you do? I mean, if you were at that point and you've been living that way, and this dude just miraculously appears out of nowhere, and the fucking song on the radio changes for the second time in 9 months, and I don't know how many weird masturbation fetishes you have fucking gone through with the partner and not like have bang that you have wanted to bang in that amount of time.
Right.
Like at that point, honestly going, hey, going to take a peek in the fucking new guy's room because we were told we were picked here for our blood. So like, I kind of get her pulling this a little bit. Cause two, she's kind of, I feel like one, I've gone crazy. I would rather take my chances and no, because she's like, let's run away. But I also think by her doing this
snooping,
yeah, it's her recognizing her rank. Like, if anybody's going to be able to do this shit, like just kind of walk the fuck in, it's us. Like, we have already been told that we didn't pay our way here.
Right. We
were selected because we are the cream of the crop. So at the end of the day, like, she knows that, at least at this point, like up until right now, she knows that they got a lot more leeway than anybody else in there. And they're very important.
True. I mean, really, the only thing you're getting shot for is fucking around here. You're not getting shot for snooping on stuff. So,
yeah.
What are you going to do? Oh, I'm sorry. There's a new guy here.
You know, yeah. And the worst thing at that point, you know, like the madam of the house would be probably more than willing to work with you at that point if she knew you got information, because she already thinks that guy's an adversary anyways.
Yeah, if she didn't before this, she will by the end of the episode, that's for sure. So, all right, so let's see. The next scene where Gallant is in his bedroom and he starts to you get your at least under the clothes masturbation by Evan Peters, and he's fantasizing about Langdon during their interview when he's asking him to, you know, tell me who you really are, all that good stuff. But then Evan Peters gets two flashes, or we as an audience get two quick flashes, which I had to like pause play until I got to the shot of these two flashes. So go ahead, Corey, describe the first one to everybody who didn't notice it, who didn't get a chance to see it when they watched the episode.
Oh, man. All right. So there's your... Okay, and this isn't to undertone the creepiness of what that is about to appear, but there's your stereotypical pentagram circle, lit in candles. Like, it looks really cool, kind of zoomed in. And then you have long-haired blonde dude. I don't know who that is because I can't see the back of it. Like, I'm only looking at the back of it.
Yeah, we're looking down from above, and they're knelt in the middle of the circle.
Yeah, so yeah, but the weird thing is there's hands that are crossed under him, and at first you would probably be like...
So everything looks pretty normal. It's just like you can see the above shot and the arms are crossed, but...
Yeah, and that's where it gets weird, because, I mean, it looks kind of odd, and he's all hunched over and whatnot, but then you have you would think would be just the right arm sticking out on the left side, because his arms are crossed. It's like the thumbs on the wrong side.
They're the wrong
like
hands.
Like the hands are, and then the other hand from this angle actually looks a little smaller, but I think it's just because more of the forearm's covered, so like it doesn't actually appear, but the hand to me looks a little smaller, like it's almost another
I would agree.
person's hand.
Right.
Right. And then I can't really tell here in this one. Let me switch the old monitors and see if this one brightens it up a little bit for me. I can't tell what the hell's going on in that picture. Can I make it bigger?
You can probably drag it, make it bigger.
I shouldn't have done that. Is that Langdon? I can't tell. I honestly can't tell the face there.
I mean, the fact that it's just a long-haired blonde guy, there's only one that we know of in this location. So we have to assume it's Langdon. It also leads to the Antichrist thing, but it also is kind of like the witchcraft thing I was mentioning. So maybe he's only been raised that he's the Antichrist, but he's really just doing witchcraft stuff. Except when so the second shot that happens while Gallant is masturbating is the same shot, but it's still the above shot of the pentagram, but he's set up and his arms are crossed. There aren't any more limbs anywhere, which means those were his arms all bent weird and funny. And there's also snakes coming out of the pentagram. So we now know where the snakes from the beginning of the episode came from. He summoned them from wherever, which is what, they're magic snakes. You can chop them up and stew them up and they'll come back to life.
Okay, so you think that this happened and he summoned those snakes and that's where the snakes came from?
From the second shot, yes, that's what I think has happened.
Okay, I would have just kind of took it as like spooky ambiance, like obviously, like I don't know if he would, I guess, because I don't think it's like to me it's not a witch thing, because I don't know, it doesn't like reek of
correct witch. Yes, if you know anything about witchcraft, it's not satanic. There may be a dark side to some witchcraft, but not all witchcraft
I
is
would
like
say,
this.
well, see, I mean, I would say that this actually looks more just like on the satanic lines. Like it looks like it has a lot more biblical undertones to it, instead of a more, to me, when I think witchcraft, even when it's like, black magic witchcraft, it always has like more like a holistic feel to it, right? Like nature's involved or whatever. Like this is more like Hellgate portal spawning kind of shit to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I just think that was just showing like he's like, I'm saying the snakes came from him. I don't know if he summoned them, but it's just kind of like one of those things where he goes, they follow. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like he got into town and there was an uptick of rats in the first, in the first few weeks of places that he appeared,
right,
and stuff like that. That's the kind of vibe that it's given.
Yeah, if he is full satanic, then or Antichrist, then yes, these are absolutely nothing to do with witchcraft whatsoever. I'm not saying that I'm really agreeing with my train of thought. I'm just trying to think of the path they could go down with him if he is the Antichrist, or if he's just been raised at saying everyone telling you're the Antichrist and been taught certain dark or satanic things. Who knows? So I don't know. We'll see. But those are two flashes. It took some time to get the pausing right to find the screenshots, but it definitely, at least to me, seems where the snakes came from. And what's kind of going on, like he's doing his rituals in the outpost. So if things aren't already starting to get weird, it means it's just going to get weirder as we go on.
Yeah.
So hence, as Peters is touching him, or as Gallant is touching himself, there's a knock on his door. it opens up and there's Rubber Man from season 1 standing there, and Gallant approaches him thinking it's Langdon in gear, and then they begin to fondle each other, and we cut to another scene, at least for a moment. Actually, not very long, because we cut to Evie. She's coming out in the hallway, and she hears what can only be described as two bears fighting.
Two bears fighting? Yeah, they were getting it, dude. Like, that was a solid tennis match going on in there.
And so she peeks in, and Gallant's on all fours. Remember, Rubber Man's behind him, giving him the business. And she gives her appalled face and stomps off in a direction with a clear intent on I know exactly where I'm going with this information I've just laid my eyes on.
Yeah, but dude, did you ever watch that TV show? I think it was on Fox, and it had the guy Tim Roth in it.
The guy from
Lie
to Me.
Yeah, Lie to Me.
Love
you know,
that
he like
show.
picked up on all those micro ticks, you know? Like, did you see her face in the show? Like, she immediately was appalled, and then she turned around, and there was that split second of her, like, in that shock state, and then she immediately went right back into her composed self to go down the hallway and basically get back in character. Like, you saw her break character, like, in an utter clear moment of holy fuck. And then it was awesome watching her realize that, and then literally seeing her collect herself.
Well, and she also saw her opening. She's like, she knows from the conversation below, there's a good chance she's not getting picked because she's old. But she's like, I can knock somebody off of
like,
this
it was
list.
cool watching. It was cool watching that, all of that thought process unfold on her face. Like, they stayed on her long enough for you to see her like, to, oh shit, hey, oh, that's gross. No, wait, I can use this. What do? Pull it together. Got it. Let's walk down the hallway. Like that. I was like, oh, dude, Grandma's about to fuck your world up.
And she walks right to Miss Mead's room, sits down, and rats out her grandson. Says, I just saw him fornicating in his room. Or actually, she sat down, and she was more talking about, I hope that I know something, and I hope what I know might help clear a spot for someone who's more deserving of the utopia. And then Miss Mead's like, what did your grandson do?
Yeah.
So, and then it cuts away from that. So then we're at outside Langdon's room. Emily and Tim are trying to get to it. They step away because he's leaving out and they don't want him to see him. So he magically walks out, and then the room's still, he doesn't lock it. I guess maybe they don't even lock for all we know. But they go inside, and there's like an open Apple MacBook like on the bed, like half opened. Like, here, don't look at me if you're snooping around. I mean, it's like laid out for him practically.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it like this. I just kind of figured that's just one of those things that they do for convenience sake in a TV show.
For telling a story,
so
right.
Yeah, just so you don't have to waste 5 minutes of them rummaging around, But if he's the Antichrist, now everything I think, especially that kind of involves him, is a test of some sorts. So I'm probably left it out there wide open on purpose. This is just throwing seed down,
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going hunting. I'm going to go set up the old deer stand next to the local salt lick.
Exactly.
Wait.
Yep.
That's what I feel that was. That was just chum in the water.
Right. And so they find, not too hard to find emails that he's received that are a week old. So if there's no infrastructure, no communication, how is he getting emails from whatever thing? Now, of course, well, I'm not getting the IT aspect. If they're all sending emails back and forth at the outpost or within the utopia, then of course there's an intranet. You could have emails within it. But if they're coming from outside or from other outposts, then how are you? You guys are telling me one thing. So they read a report about a report to the cooperative about Miss Venable and her tactics from him. So he is sending out from there somehow.
Well, that's what we're led to believe.
True.
Yes.
If it's not just a setup to move them forward in whatever they're going to do.
Yeah, well, again, before I thought it was like, okay, you know what, like why waste time showing someone rummage through a room just to find, a letter or in this case a laptop? Like, why not just have it fucking there and go, all right, apparently this guy's never like took a password class, we'll just ignore it. Like it's just one of those things like you have to just kind of look past just for the sake of the story.
Right.
But now I'm like, did he really send those emails out? Or is it just like, hey, I got my version of Outlook open and I sent some bullshit emails to a local intranet on my own system that just says it's going out to like things that John Smith somewhere, blah, blah, blah. But you actually click on the thing and it's like local.local.domain, and you're like,
right.
You literally sent this to yourself.
And so, yeah. And so while they're reading the laptop, the camera pans up and the rubber man's like, I mean, he's literally doing a Spider-Man pose. Like he's Spider-Man. He's stuck to the ceiling, like watching them do this. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean. They get out and don't see him. I have no clue, but he's there watching over them.
Yeah. And a lot, that's the thing that I sometimes bothers me with this show. Because I think they also take a very artistic approach with this show. So some of the things we see, like rubber dude hanging from the ceiling, doesn't mean anything. It is just strictly there because at that point in time, when the story was going on and this vibe, like that's the creepy thing.
Right.
The rubber man is stored away at, right? Or whatever, like he was called upon and that's where he perched. It's just the thing that's there that makes you go, snakes in the old wardrobe were not cool. Snakes reappearing out of the soup were not cool. But again, it's just snakes, right?
Right.
Like you're bound to kind of go crazy and not know what's what after a certain point of time. So who knows? Like everybody just may be like, well, you know what? I saw a fucking leprechaun last week. So, right. And like, this is just a good way for them to drive home the insanity and hysteria that is just kind of getting ready to swallow this place up.
Right. Yeah. Hey, if it keeps going, if it keeps getting worse and worse, it could be fun to watch.
To me, it's like, it's like Rubber Man was basically when you bought that poster when you were a kid, but the eyes always seemed to follow you no matter what. Right. Like no matter where you were in the room and you looked over, you're like, that motherfucker is always looking right at me. Like I just kind of, it's like, it's just one of those things that just, it's just not supposed to make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, right. So the next scene, we are in Miss Venable's office. We've seen numerous times. She's kind of waiting, pacing around, tidying up, fluffing pillows, like just kind of just nervous. Langdon arrives. He confronts her on her outpost policies, like how stupid that, celibacy is one of your policies. And then you can see from her reaction that she's like, it's funny that you should talk about sex at a time like this when we should be focusing on more important things. She has this, like very, I'm not sure if it's like man-hating, but I felt like very like, are we being attacked right now? Because there's a lot of man-hating in Cult too. by there's a whole like man-killing cult in Cult season. So I'm like, is she just talking about how stupid men are and how we fucked all this, all the men and all the money fucked the world up, and now she's just trying to salvage whatever's left, and the way she's going to do that is by not fornicating?
Well, I think it was more like when I listened to the argument, it was kind of like, to me, it went like this. If, let's say you did something, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't really agree with it, but I was coming to start you knew where the argument was going, right?
Right.
But I come up to you and I go, you wore purple today. And you just went, oh, so you're just gonna lead with this little piece of bullshit because we all know what we're about to get into. Like, you just didn't show up at my house at high noon and, hey, we're just going to have this little petty conversation. Like, I think she just was like, don't come to critique me about the fucking rules. It's your people, your man thing that led this. If you're going to come over here and knock on my world, let's talk about how your group of men who you're backing, who you did, got us to where we're the fuck at. Like, please don't come nitpick at me at little shit right now when we're here by your game plan, who is apparently funded by nothing but men, you know? So
right. And to be honest,
like, and I was kind of like, got a point.
to be honest, she starts off by saying she received a comm message, a communique from the cooperative before comms went down when the bombs went off, and she was just putting what they said into action. And he's like, "Well, show me the communique." She's like, "I don't have it. They told me to destroy it after I read it." And he goes, "Well, that's really funny because I was involved in every communique that went out of the cooperative." And then that's when she's like, "Well, it would be really embarrassing for a man such as yourself to be left out of the loop." And like when she goes, "Man such as yourself," he does this like he's like this man, huh? And like grabs his dick. Like, this man, huh? And she's like watching him do it, and then that's when she goes into the whole rant about the money and the men fucking everything up, and her just trying to like keep it. So
yeah, like, I don't agree with her because at this point, like, I don't know who's lying,
right?
But from the way it acted out, I would guess that she was probably the one lying in that situation. I don't know, because that guy just plays everything so calm and cool. Like, I know that's supposed to be his demeanor, so you can't read him, but you can still read other people. Mm-hmm. And, like, her reaction was one of, got something I think that's going to work, and then kind of get countered. And it's like, okay, well, might as well go full front assault at this point. And understanding that her best course of action is just standing your ground. Like, if you believe the lie that you're gonna say at this point, like, because we don't know if it is or not, that if you just believe in it hard enough right now, arguing with him, he's already, like, she knows that he's already got his mind made up one way or another, mm-hmm. or has a feeling. So if it's all a game, then she's still like, I gotta play this game. So I think her tactic is then showing that I'll do what's necessary no matter what scenario is thrown at me. Like, I'm going to be the one that will lead us. Like, she's like, I'm the leader. You need to understand that. Like, my changes of sex, even if you don't agree with them, like, I was the leader. I got the words from this. Oh, you called me out on that. Well, hey, by the way, I can spin this. Check this out. That's really crazy that a person of your stature wouldn't fucking know that your own messages got sent out. Like, ha. Like, how do you not know? Like, we can basically proving that, like, hey, I can go back and forth with you all day long with this, but let's really talk about why we're fucking here.
Right.
Like, you know, she's like, I'm here because of your shit situation. Like, but you want to come get me from whether she is doing orders or not. Like, she's like, that's not the point at this fucking time.
Right. So from there, he is trying to fill her in on what's really going on out in the world outside the outpost walls. And so he tells this story about a mother and children he came across on his way to the outpost. And the story it's neither here nor there. But, like, as he's telling it, like, did you notice, could you even tell that he started to physically cry?
No, because I don't think they show it.
They do. They show a tear, but he doesn't. No. He doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no scene where it's the beginning of the tear. It's
there.
Hey, some camera's panned on my face right now as the camera's slowly revolving, and by the time it hits to the person I'm talking to, when the camera comes back around, I will be so distraught from the story I'm telling that even in my calm demeanor that I've spoken in this whole time, that a tear has managed to still, as I'm holding it together, like, leak its way down my face. And I need you to see that I have I have feelings and emotions.
Look at me show emotions, but not show emotions at all. I just thought it was weird that there was a tear coming down from his eye, but he wasn't emoting any sort of crying whatsoever. It was just odd to me. I mean, not odd. I'm sure it's completely on purpose, but I kind of want to know more behind that. Is he trying to emulate emotion? Is he holding it? Okay, so you have like what you said, like he's trying. He has to be the pinnacle of composure at all times. That's what he's been taught from day one. So this is like a break in his facade, or this is him like, I gotta get this fucking tear out, but I don't know how to because I don't have any emotion. Oh, I got it. There's the tear, but he's not really crying.
Yeah, I think it's I don't think it was what I described. I just was describing maybe that's what happened in the scene. Like that's why the tear was the way it was. I personally believe that it wasn't him trying to like force a tear out, but it was as if you're supposed to see him as like a hurt being, because like he's supposed to care for these people, whether he's the Antichrist or not. Like, they're his people, but yet at the same time, no matter how you look at him, like no matter what he's really feeling, when you as an outsider look at them, you go, there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I see that you just caught the game-winning home run of Game 7 of the greatest World Series of all time, young child, and the child's like laughing and smiling, and all that's looking back at you is the most hollowed out eyes you've ever seen in your life, and you're like, I don't understand like how that is happening. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what it's supposed to be. Like, he's genuinely crying, but there's really still just nothing there. Like, he's like, I'm here, right? Like, I can shed a tear. Like it's weird because I don't want to describe it as like someone who's faking it.
Because I do. I'm on the other camp.
Yeah, see, like, I don't think it was him faking it. Like, I think it's this weird, it genuinely tore him up, but it's also like, no matter try as he might, he's always pushing that boulder up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'll just never be there. Like, he'll never be really happy. He'll never be really sad. He'll never really experience anything.
Right.
And like, that is like, to me, that would be one of the scariest things ever, especially if it's the Antichrist, because they can just, do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing really there. And that's what I think this scene was trying to show. Like, I mean, maybe he was faking it, but I really just think it's one of those, they're showing that he can never truly cusp full emotion. Like, he may get a tear out, and yet when you look at him, you go, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I'm supposed to feel bad about you, the story you're telling me, but when I look at you, I go, what the fuck is wrong with, like, you've somehow still done something wrong. Like, you put me on unease no matter how you feel.
Right. Yeah, and because I don't ever, because I know this show is as big as it is, I don't want to ever fault the actors or the direction. 99% of the time, I never fault them. So everything we saw, we were supposed to see. Like, the fact that you said that the tear wasn't there when they cut to her face, but when we cut back, the tear had already come and fallen down his cheek and was there. I'm not even going down the path of like the actor just couldn't get a tear out that day, and they had to just put an eyedropper in, get it out, and go. Because then I'm not going that way. So you're right. I believe somewhere between what you've said, what I've said, like the two camps that we're in with what he's trying to do, whether he's suppressing emotion or just doesn't feel any and just tries to display the emotion, whether or not it works. It's one of those two things for sure, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was also like a good way to illustrate with that shot, because when you saw the tear, at least I went, oh man, like that was my initial reaction to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but then as soon as I looked at his face,
you're like, why do you not look like you're crying?
Yeah, like when they kind of zoomed back out on him, that's when I went, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, dude, I see it. And I don't, and like that, and that's why like it didn't make me feel like he was faking it, because I just feel like when they do like a fake tear or like I'm gonna play dead kind of thing, there's almost always now that like fourth wall break real quick where he would have like almost, whether it was, I mean, I know it was meant for us, but instead of it like to be an official fourth wall break, you know, whatever, there's that kind of smirk at the camera, you know, or like a quick glance up because he's played it right, you know, and everyone goes,
right,
like,
true. I know what you're saying.
I get it now that you were being sneaky, you know, like I think this was, it goes with the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you would have shown him crying, it would have made you go, oh, I feel for him too much, no matter what he did to his face, because you would have seen the tear happen. But by all of a sudden the tear being there, and we don't actually get to see his face at the moment of thought when the tear happened,
mm-hmm.
in that quick little microcosm, like we just see the stoic dude again, and with the tear running down his face, and he's not tough looking, and he's not sad looking, and he's not happy looking, and you're just like, it bothers me. Like you just feel uneasy about it, you know, and like it's a cool fucking atmospheric thing.
Makes you think about it a little bit. So then we get to this part where he asks Miss Venable to undress, and he reveals a curved.
Well, they had that little back and forth before that, because like,
oh well, he asked her the opinion of the group. Like, what do you think of the people? He goes back. He's like, okay, let's talk about everybody in the house. And she just spouts off like how she hates Coco because she's like a vapid.
Yeah, like rapid gunfire of like, and it was cool because it was strictly
bam,
like
bam, bam, bam.
On and it was from what we have seen, honest opinions about everyone there. It wasn't, because even when she was talking about, I forget her name now because she doesn't appear often, but like Miss We Can Do It.
Dinah
all
Stevens.
The time. Yeah, like even when she's like rattling through them, you know, they're fair assessments of the people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like none of it was, yes, it was negative, but you could tell it wasn't so just like over the top, like here, oh shit, here's a list of every fucking thing they did wrong. No, this was a quick like, hey, life or death. I just need to know the top 5 fucking things about every one of them. And if all 5 happen to be negative, so be it. I'll work with what I fucking got.
Right. She gave the answer that every manager should be able to give when asked the question.
Yeah.
About
like,
the people
who's your
under
weakest
you.
link? Jim. You know, like just immediately, like your first what if, you know? And then, because they do that weird, because he does that weird walk circle thing around her. Gets all close and shit. And then that's when he's like, no, I want to see what really hurts you or some shit like that. And that's when he's like, because after he tells her to undress, you know, he does that weird, creepy walk thing. And then, because he's like just fucking there. He was on the other side of the room and then telling her to undress. And then again, there's no scene of him that I recall of him walking over towards her.
Ooh, I don't know. I have to go back and look at that.
It was just like he's there kind of chinning around her shoulder area and then basically saying like, hey, here's a really polite way of me telling you that you're going to undress. Show me the thing that like hurts you the most or whatever. And she knows exactly what that is. So boom. And then, you know, and I think he's already in the process, like as he is telling her this, unzipping the top of it. Like there ain't nothing
right
you can do about this. You need to understand the situation that you're in. But he also kind of like puts her at ease at the same time with it, you know, and it's like, I don't know if she was just an accepting thing or if it was also this guy doing that, his weird, creepy vibe, but it also is a calming thing, like at the same time, you know, like the only thing I can equate that to is when you know you're getting on like a scary carnival ride and like midway through it, you're riding it and you just kind of realize that I'm probably going to make it. And you just kind of let go for that little split second and just feel everything. You're like, yeah, this is where it's at. You know, like I wonder if it's kind of like that where even though that dude, because that guy weirds me the fuck out. Like if that guy was on my couch, I would probably constantly be like on the ground, just backpedaling unconsciously. Like, even if I was sitting next to him, like, I would be pushing my heels into the ground, just kind of, yeah. Not really moving, man, but just letting you know.
Yeah, I'm ready to move at any second.
given moment, I'm ready to go.
Nice.
Because again, I think in that scene, like, you don't see him walk over there, and then he's just right by her, basically undressing her and, like, giving her the rundown of why she's unacceptable.
Yeah, because at the end of it, after all of his, like, caressing of it, because I don't know if they're trying to show us a scoliosis spine. I was looking online and some folks were like, I have scoliosis. It does not look like that, but it may just be, I don't know what they're trying to show her, but her spine is definitely like a serpent shape up her back. And, you know, like you said, he was getting all close and getting all like whispery talking to her. And she's like, did I pass? And he's like, no.
Nope. Yeah.
And as he's saying no, and they're all like faces are close, the door gets knocked on and Miss Mead is there, and she's like, we need to see I need Miss Venable. And then, like, as Miss Venable walks out, like, I love the look that Miss Mead gives him, and she's like, sir, which is pretty much the way she said sir is the way anybody who's like a lower ranking military who fucking hates the officer they work for, like, that's how you say sir when you really mean fuck you. Like, as like that's how you say it in that tone. It was great.
Oh yeah. No, that was the most underwritten FU in a sir like ever.
Right.
You know, that was, and it was, and the cool thing too, like, I'm glad you pointed that out, because that sir also had the vibe of, I don't like you, but also, like, that's my boo.
Right. That's my girl. Like, quit.
Fuck with her, and, like, all bets are off. I will do a lot of fucked up shit. Like, I will go kill some kids because they had sex. But you mess with her, I'm coming for you.
So they, in the hallway, Miss Mead fills Venable in on what Evie told her. They both come to the conclusion that Langdon was the rubber man in the rubber man outfit. So not only does Gallant believe it was Langdon, but also the two ladies also believe it was him, just fornicating with everybody. And they think they actually.
Well, that's why because she made a comment of something like, "No wonder he volunteered first."
Right.
You know, like, that's why they were plotting.
They assumed that he knew each other before the bombs went off. So, yeah, that's all that in their conspiracy minds lines up. So then they have, at some point between there and now, they have taken Gallant, they've arrested him, and they've chained him up in the room they deconned in. Not the one they deconned Stu and Gallant in, but the one they deconned when they first came in and all the steam was blowing. He's literally chained up where they were all getting their suits blown off of the decon, or, you know, getting decon, and he's chained up, arms up. And Venable starts questioning him. She asks him how long he's known Langdon. Gallant's a smartass in the way only Evan Peters can be. And Mead whips him, and his first thing he screams is, Rip Taylor! And I was like, wait a second, what? Like, when I was first watching, I was like, oh, this is gonna be one of these scenes, huh? Because I was literally laughing hard by the end of this scene. And she asked him, Venable asked him what they're planning. He doesn't answer. He gets whipped again. He yells, Larry Kramer! Which is another. These are all as he's hitting. He tells her, "You can keep hitting me all you want, and I will pay tribute to the great gay radicals of the 70s, 80s. Their names give me strength." And so they whip him again, and he yells, So he just goes. It's great. This is probably my favorite scene of the whole this episode. And then Mead looks over his shoulder because she's the one doing the whipping to Venable, and is like, "Do you want me to hit him again?" And Venable like looks down, and she goes, "No." Like he's enjoying it too much.
He's erect. Like he's enjoying himself.
And he tells her it's the most fun I've had since the Folsom Street Square fair. So look that up if you wanna know all about that. But it's a big gay party, which of course it is. So later,
yeah, I think my buddies, because that happens in San Francisco, right? I don't know. I want to say it sounds familiar because I have a good buddy.
I mean, I did give you the hyperlink for it.
Oh yeah, that's right there in the
San
dock.
Francisco's south, yes, Folsom Street between 8th and 13th Streets in San Francisco's south of Market District.
Okay, yeah, okay, because my buddy used to live like within spitting distance apparently of this parade, and like every year he would just I would get all of a sudden I'd get these photos of just the like coolest. It's a weird mix of stuff, dude. Like it's a super fun looking parade. Like it looks awesome, but it is also very adult.
Oh yeah,
like very, very adult. And like you'll see some cool costumes, and then all of a sudden you'll see some just I don't want to say disturbing, because people are into what they're into, man. Like, and if it's consensual, it's consensual. But there's some kind of things that will make you go, I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable with giving that green light to someone in that position. just
right.
Don't know if I have enough trust in anyone to do that.
Yep. So they leave. So later, so this is time has passed. He's still hanging there, and Langdon comes in the room. He appears into the room, really, like you've been saying. Like you never see him really arrive anywhere. He just kind of moves around.
Well, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like he is just there, and he's always there in a way that your mind just
accepts it,
interprets. Accepts that he must have walked down the hallway or just came around the corner. But really, even him riding up, the horses in his carriage were just there. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't us seeing his, and it didn't need to be a day trek or anything like that. But it wasn't a ride up. It was just like, hey, carriage boom, gates, people, what the fuck, who's here? And then it was, he's in the building. And then it was, he's just in his room. Mm-hmm. And then he's just right outside of the dining room. And then all of a sudden he's in his own weird conference room that I guess is his bedroom. Maybe. I don't know what that room is, like where he was talking to Miss Venerable. You know, like we don't ever see him just old Pat and Charlie in it anywhere.
Right. True. Very true. I'm going to pay more attention to that next week. So let's see. So then Gallant says that he was staying strong by thinking of their time in his room, and Langdon denies that it was him vehemently. And he intensely denies it was him and tells Gallant,
I wouldn't fuck you if you were the last man on Earth. And you almost are.
Yeah, jeez, dude. You talk about
that's a kick to the balls.
Like a sick... Dude, that's just such a sick burn. Like, right? Like, I mean, think about it. Like, we've all made that jokes. And usually those jokes are reserved for your best friends. Like the guy that you know either at that moment in time needs to hear that fucked up joke to like break their cycle of rage or whatever it is, or you're just trying to cheer them up and you kind of just say something really ridiculous, you know. But then we've all picked on that person that we may have not liked, or whether we've actually said this to their face or something like that. You create some insane story or have some insane comeback where the first period in your sentence or story was like that was enough, and then you follow it up with but and the continued, and you lay on that like one extra little layer of the joke, like, dude, his mom died yesterday kind of thing. And it's like you purposely went out of your way to do that. Like the fact that he goes and you almost are, like, just want to highlight this, if I can't any more clearly, that we are literally at the end of the world and we almost are. And I still wouldn't want my penis or body anywhere fucking near you.
True.
Like, that is just choosing to be a dick, you know?
Yeah. And then
and I get it. Like, it's that elite arrogance that dude, I don't know who the fuck cast him, but
bravo.
The script literally had to have, like, character description just had to have read like metamorphic blob that no one's really unsure what they do. Like, I want to feel...
You have to enter every room like
cause
everybody is below you, so far below you that you are so sad to have to take time out of your busy day to address anybody you come in contact with.
Yeah, but that guy also like puts off this like vibe of like he deserves that. And he also puts off that vibe of I'm here to help. Like he can't, like he does too.
I also
and then he's like oddly sexy. And dude, but he's like not at the same time because he just kind of comes off as a terrible person. Like he is this perfect like teeter-totter of everything.
I also get a vibe that at any moment he could literally just rip somebody in half, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that's what
like
I'm
I
saying.
I feel like at some point he's gonna snap and just rip, just rip somebody in half.
Dude, okay, that's what I'm saying. Like if you and I mean, fuck, this is what we're doing. But if someone literally came to us and said, hey, describe this guy. If you went, well, not gonna lie, dude, he kind of looks like a twerp, a weakling, like whatever, man, a pussy. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever you want to describe him. One of us, the other one would go, but you know what? Also at the same time, I feel like he would kill me in my sleep and or somehow rip my heart out of my chest without even me fucking knowing it. Like, he just is this staggering counter opposite of everything. And then this weird, like, melding mix of, are you gay? Are you straight? Are you bi? But I know how it's like, me personally, this is all me talking here. Like, I'm not throwing anything your way. But, like, I look at that dude and I'm like, I mean, I kind of feel some weird shit about this guy. And I like women in general, man, but like this guy for some reason is somehow putting off this odd aurora to me. Like if someone was like, hey, who's a handsome guy in this room? I'd be like, that dude right there, that guy. Like, are you not feeling it? Like, am I the only one? You know, kind of thing. Like this dude, like I like him as an actor. Like I almost want, like, I got to go find him in some other shit now just to see if like that is just general, like his general consensus vibe, or is he just literally playing this amazing character? Like, I like the dude that's playing the Antichrist, if you can't fucking tell.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Like, I think, because I think he does it really well. Because a lot of times, you know, especially when you get in this horror or satanic like vibe, like the Antichrist is always, you know, some demon spawn that comes out and then he's just brings utter terror through the world. But like a lot of the story with it in is this utterly charming person, right? You know, that just kind of works his way in. And this guy, for somehow you look at him and go, nothing on you to me reads off the charts. Like, you're not Eric Northman, but yet you have this strangely like sexy vibe to you.
Right.
And
that's my man crush.
Yeah, right. Like, you know, but you look at him and you go, you're not intimidating, but yet I'm somehow threatened by you. Or like when he's crying, you're going, I hear it, I see it, but I'm not feeling that thing that you're supposed to be putting off. Like this dude he does some weird shit with the way he acts, man. And like, it is good for this atmosphere. Like, that's why, like, I'm bummed, like this episode bummed me out because I just felt like there was a whole lot of nothing.
Right. It was a little bit of,
you know, like, I know we're talking a lot because I'm reading the story and then thinking of it now in like greater detail. I'm ad-libbing a lot of things that I would now want to happen in my head. But, you know, for the greater part of it, it's really just a lot of sex and then a robot at the end or an android or whatever.
Right. So at the end of his conversation with Gallant, he lets him in on that his grandmother is the one who ratted him out. And then as he leaves, or when he leaves, you get this, you know, weird noise that's meant to represent like magic or something supernatural, and the cuffs release, and they it lets him go. Gallant's cuffs release, and he's able to leave as well.
Yeah, well, that's when you had that weird cut again,
where suddenly he's not there anymore.
Yeah, because he was in there because he just fucking appeared, and then he's in there talking to him again, doing the weird circle thing, and then stands in front of him, and then as it pans up to the cuffs and you get the weird noise, it's like whatever, cuffs are gone, and then Gallant's fucking gone. Like, I mean, even
Langdon,
his character looks around like, where the fuck did he go?
Right.
You know?
Yep. So we'll see. I'm going to pay more attention next week to be like, how many times does he just appear, apparate somewhere. There he is, right there. So
yeah, and like I was saying, they do it in a really cool way because
it's not filmed like you're supposed to figure it out.
Yeah, right. It's not, every one of them is not just him standing in an open doorway, right? Like there may have been that. I think there was one in the last episode, but before that, he's opening the doors as all of a sudden he's there in the middle of the conversation. Or the next scene we cut to, it's him leading the conversation already from behind the desk. And then in the middle of that conversation, he's on the other side of the room suddenly.
Right.
And every time we see him, he's just there, but he's always there where, like you said, our mind accepts it. And when we see it, we go, oh, well, he must have just walked in from that prison door or containment door that's right there behind him. And we just didn't hear the sound or see the thing. And then when he leaves again, you're like, oh, well, he's obviously been whipped and beaten. He's like, you forget that he was just enjoying it 20 seconds ago. Like, is all of a sudden now, like, his rush suddenly over? But then again, he's just there again, so we don't know if he was sitting there hanging for another fucking 8 hours by himself. Like, your brain goes, oh, he must have just came in. Like, that's how you instantly take everything for just the face value. But then, like we're doing, when you start to talk about it and think about it, you go, well, shit. Now that scene just happened, I don't know how long really he was hanging there after they left, and then all of a sudden he appeared. And then I don't know, now that the chains broke, like, are they just showing it where, like, we're not seeing any definite end of the conversation, and it just was kind of like, hey, here's some words, and then he left a while ago, and he kind of was like, oh, what the fuck? But, like, he actually looked around this time, so he was just there, and he's just was gone. We're
reading so much into it. It's gonna be such a disappointment. This is probably why we get on it. We get so on it later on in the season.
Well, that's what I
like, damn it.
Dude, like, I think I nailed it earlier when I was saying, like, people get, like, their favorite episode, like, their favorite season, where I don't even think they could admit it now all the time, because there's been so many. But if you really broke it down and, like, kind of could somehow subconsciously dig down into that seed, it's always the show never living up to that season. And so you get people doing what I did, that create these stories that you think you remember kind of happening in your favorite season, and you were like, dude, remember when they threw that fucking bonkers what if and, like, all of this shit happened? I could do that. And then you start making your own story.
Right. Yeah. So let's see, what do we do next? We are in the library. Jim Croce's Time in a Bottle is playing, so apparently the radio's kind of changing up a little bit more often than it used to be, which is nice. Gives us some I like their soundtrack pick so far. Dinah, Evie, and Coco are in there. Dinah talks about that the song we're listening to was used in an episode of Hardy Boys back in the 70s, when one of the characters' girlfriends died, and it was subsequently used when there was any sort of, like, emotional things that had to come through and happen. Which was cool, except I went looking online to find, like, which episode of Hardy Boys that used it, and I couldn't. But I did actually, I never knew there was a Hardy Boys TV show in the 70s, but apparently there was. As a kid, I read the normal books, from, like, who knows when they were written? The 50s, 60s, who knows? Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, all that shit. Like, that was, like, every like, 8-year-old read Hardy Boys. It's, I don't know, it's an 80s thing. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, Coco goes on a rant about how this whole apocalypse is much harder for the younger people because all you old folks had, like, 3 options of, like, TV channels, and all you knew was, like, 2 things that were and I love her character, and she plays the perfect, like, everybody fucking hates you, and it's great, and everything she has is golden.
Yeah, I always wonder, obviously, most actors and actresses, I feel like, at any given time can really act, right? It's kind of like going to the gym and there being, like, a college basketball guy that never went pro, maybe even only played, like, a year or 2 in college. And you're like, oh, but then he, like, fucking waxes the floor with everybody and he's not even a pro. And that's when you really go, Holy shit, dude. There is a way, way, way big gap between me, the normal dude, who I kind of thought I was over here, but I'm really not, between the guy who kind of almost fucking made it. And then there's the pro, right? So, like, with her, I wonder sometimes, is he really like that insanely good of an actor playing that? Or is that just a little bit of her personality and she's just cranked it up to a 10?
Everything,
right?
I think
so like when you really hang out with her, like I bet you she's like super sweet. Like I bet you if you knew her, she probably is a really, really nice person. But sometimes the way she says shit, no matter how she says it, it comes off as like the bitchiest fucking thing in the world. And it's just because the way she is. And like this show, I think she just takes that little piece of her and goes, all right, we're gonna turn it up and we're just gonna let everybody fucking have it. And I bet you the director and everybody's like, just cut loose, just go to town.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit of it. Except everything I see on her social media, she is like amazing. Like she was at some concert with Gabby Sidibe, the one from Cult, and they're just like in the front row, like drinking, like going nuts, like whatever like rap concert they were at. I think I recognized some of the songs they were singing. I was like, where are you guys? But like they were just going, and she looks like she's having the time of her life. It was great. It was hilarious.
Yeah, dude. Like that's what I was saying. Like I bet you she is a super nice person, but like we got a buddy. Like there's just certain shit he says, and you go, like. I'm glad I've known you for 10 years because I can now laugh at that. But if you would have said that in like year one with that kind of joke, like that would have been fighting words, man, because your face or your body expression, like the way that it just comes off, like they can't do it. And I feel like there are certain things that she'll go to say politely.
Right. They come off that way.
No matter what, it kind of comes off like this character. And she's just and there's just no stopping it.
True. So Gallant comes in, confronts Evie. She pretty much says, hey, look, I'm a survivor, so I got to take all y'all out before I go. Then I go. That's what I'm going to end up doing. And she starts listing off all of his failures. Like, she's like, you've piled a lifetime of failures into your 30 years. And she talks about salons he's bankrupted, and the third, 2 he bankrupted, the third he like put up his nose with coke or whatever.
Well, that's because he came and yelled at her, and he's like, you've lived, like you've had a full life, like fucking just accept it.
Right. And at the end of it all, he says,
the only thing I ever wanted from you was for you to love me and accept me. Why couldn't you just give me that?
And her response is,
sorry, darling. It's just not in my nature.
And like pats him on the cheek like a good old boy, and walks out of the room. And it was
dude. I am telling you, man. That little scene right there, like, perfectly describes my father-in-law.
Okay.
Like just some of the stuff with that dude. Like you can't change it.
Right.
Like I love him to death, man. But it's and it's kind of funny too because she's older. So it's like, by her saying it's not in my nature, is this showing that she's really like ruthless? Or is this kind of also showing that like, hey, I've been around for so long that when like being gay wasn't cool, those were the majority of my years. So I just don't know how to be A-okay with this kind of thing. Where we kind of go, like you said, like it's not in my nature. Like I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know if we're ever going to know now after this episode.
No.
All right, so let's move on. Wrap up the episode. There's not too much left. Oh, boy. Okay. There is a little bit left, though. So we'll try to speed through it. So Tim and Emily are in one of their rooms. They're discussing what they found on the computer, saying it's all a lie, that none of the rules matter, which is pretty much like, let's bone. So they start boning while the rubber man is still watching them when whatever new room they're in. So he just appears wherever he wants to anyways as well.
That's true, he does.
Yeah, so they're definitely not fucking on Langdon's bed. They definitely left that room and went somewhere else. So
I think they were.
Yeah, he may even have been. It was like there was like a dark hallway or dark like alcove that he was just kind of standing in, you know, watching. Maybe he's I don't know what, dude, if he's a figment of an imagination or if he's like a demon that's been summoned, or if he's, you know, maybe those were his arms that were coming out of the ground when they definitely weren't Gallant's arms and they were all turned different ways. You know, one of the two screenshots we were looking at, maybe they weren't even, maybe they were him birthing from the, who knows? But anyways, so now we're back in the library and Gallant is sitting alone. I'm guessing everybody stormed out after the whole ordeal. The music changes again to Gold Dust Woman by Fleetwood Mac. And he's like, okay. And he turns and Rubberman standing in the doorway. I love like how he goes from complete like bored, fuck it, it's just another day of sitting on this couch to like, oh, like when he's like, yeah, Rubberman's back.
Yeah.
And so
the man must have did some nice stuff.
He must have swished, you know, swirled them hips or something. I don't know what he did, but yeah. So it's.
I mean, because you gotta think about that, right? Like, even if you're having good sex on like the regular basis, right? You almost never get to that point because you're just like, it's the regular, you know. So you're never like, oh, and then significant other just magically appears and is like, hey, and you're like, oh shit, like, right? Like, you may get the little like, oh, Sunday afternoon or whatever, you know, kind of vibe, and you're like, yeah, let's get it on. But this was a straight up like rearranged his brain. Like, this was like you were a kid that had just had sex like a few times, and then you finally hit that real stride where you had your first like insane sexual experience with someone, and you went, oh my God, I've been having sex, but the whole time you're telling me sex could have been like this. They did that. Like, that's what happened to that dude. Like,
right.
Like, he fucking straight was like, whatever you want. Like, that booty call could have came at any time, no matter what he was doing, and he would have dropped everything. And
truthfully, Rubberman stands there. He turns around and leaves the library, and Gallant follows him throughout the place. Now,
which is weird because they do that, like he's 10 steps ahead kind of thing, and he's always kind of like, do I make a right? Do I make a left? Like, you know,
he's definitely not right behind him, following him.
Yeah, and it's this whole, I'm unsure, but I'm being pulled in this direction. Like, when I come to a fork in a road, I know that way doesn't offer me anything. Like, his brain is only going like, you should probably go this way. What you're looking for is this way. It's like, it reminded me of like the old Tom and Jerry cartoons where there would be like the attractive, you know, female cat or mouse. And then one of them would like spray the trail of perfume, and then it would turn into the hand and like pull them by the chin, and they would just kind of float. Right. Like, that's what I thought was like going on.
And that's what it ends up looking like, because he definitely doesn't recognize what room he's going into. Gallant doesn't.
Oh yeah, he's definitely love struck. Some kind of under some kind of crazy.
So this next portion is actually between multiple locations. So bear with me. So Gallant was following Rubberman. He enters a room that he doesn't recognize what room it is. Rubberman is there. The two approach each other. We cut to Mead and the tall lady enter the room where Tim and Emily are sleeping post coitus. And dude, tall lady snatches Emily by the hair. And I mean, they even used a sound effect for ripping hair from the roots. Like, it was like, I was like, oh shit. Like, she immediately starts screaming. Tim, good on him. He gets up and goes for a swing at tall lady, and she blocks it like he was bothering her, like swatting a fly, and she just pretty much blocks the punch, traps his arm, and then just drags them both out of the room like it was it's a Sunday morning walk. She's just like, one by the hair, one by the arm, and like an arm bar type thing, and just walks him out of the room. Yeah, like at the
end of the day, it was essentially like the old school grandmother like pulling the kids by their ears. Like, you know, like, just follow me. You're not going anywhere.
Yep. And then we move back to Gallant and Rubberman. And this point, it's looking like it was before, but Gallant turns Rubber Man and decides he's going to be the giver today. So he turns him over and mounts him and starts kissing on his face and working his way down. And he says, "Wouldn't fuck me if I was the last man on Earth." And what?
Wasn't there in this scene too? Because I know in the first time, like he tries to pull like Rubber Man's like mouth piece. I think
that was the first time I didn't mention
there was
it.
Like, okay, because I thought also in this scene there was like another concentrated effort of him like trying to like kind of.
No, when he works his way down, he unsnaps something further down the torso or at the crotch. I don't know. But as he's like tells him this line, he turns Rubber Man's head over and reaches for these rooms don't have shit in them, but there's a pair of scissors on the bedside table. Like, fuck, are you kidding me? But okay, I'll go with it. American Horror Story.
It's like a game of Clue at this point,
right? Exactly. So, which is why I personally still think this could all be in his head, and I'm only praying because I love Joan Collins. I want to see her more in the show before we know she's not going to make it. Like, I fucking know she's not going to make it. So, but I want more Joan Collins. So I'm hoping this is all in his head because of the magic scissors and everybody's changing bodies. Anyways, so he grabs the scissors and proceeds to stab for like 30 times. And then as he's finishing his stabbing and he's all, blood splatter everywhere, the door creaks open and there's Rubber Man standing there and Langdon Landing is standing there, which makes him go. Yeah. Okay, you're right. I was wondering why I wrote that, but yeah, Langdon's standing there, not Rubber Man, and he turns back like, well, wait a second, you're supposed to be the Rubber Man. So he turns back and he's on top of Evie, on top of his grandmother, and she is stabbed, a whole bunch of blood.
Yeah,
and that's that. So, and we don't see them again. So this is all we see. This is the last we see of him this episode.
See, in this like kind of again, circles back to me saying like everything that this dude's doing. Like he already said, I'm not taking all of you. So they know it's a test. But they don't know what the criteria are. Like he said, I'm going to interview you. Right. So, also like, what if this interview is supernatural in a sense too? Right. Like, hey, I whispered all those terrible things in your ear saying that I wasn't going to fuck you, because I'm now playing the devil on your shoulder. Like, I gave you this super sweet vibe early in our first conversation because I was playing the angel. Now I'm playing the devil. I sparked this thing to give fuel to it with your grandmother ratting you out because I gave you also that super awesome, angelic, good sexual time. Now here's your choice, blah, blah, blah. Magic scissors, whatever you want, just some device to kill him. But there it is. Like, here's your choice. Do you kill me because you think I'm the one that did these things to you, right? And it turns out like, hey, you chose wrong.
You chose
such your consequence
unwisely.
was killing your grandma. Right. But like, I'm wondering now if like that's why he's there. Like, oh, that was part of the test. Maybe the test could have been, hey, you could have had a cool, another just like euphoric time and you really weren't in your grandmother's room and you and Rubber Man could have got it on and you didn't reach for the scissors and you just stayed on top and had a good fucking time. And you really weren't on top of grandma. But as soon as you grab those scissors with all this weird supernatural shit that's been happening, the thing that you think you're killing is actually
right. There's a lot of open-ended shit right now that we are all speculating. Yeah. It's all speculation. We could talk about this shit for hours, as those who are still listening can tell. So from here,
dude, there's like fucking podcasts out there that are like 5 hours.
I'm not.
Long. Like,
have you seen us drop any? Dude, I drop 2.5 hour things. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Dude, the fact that like we average 2.5 hours to close to 3 hours, I feel is like prime real estate for podcast people. Like, that means you got some shit. Like, if you can knock out a TV show once a week and have a 45-minute podcast that's just not you rattling off cliff notes of like what just happened in the show, right? Or just your crazy fan theory without actually getting into any of the show. Like, that's why I like our podcast, because like it takes a little while.
It does. You gotta get into this, man.
But we get you from point A to point Z, and then we also like to like put up a whole bunch of yarn and put our own plot points across the things that we're fucking telling you at the same time to have our own crazy conspiracy theories. And now you got a nice little podcast sandwich of things to fucking meld on for a while. Like maybe it's so intense for you in this 3 hour to 2.5 hour experience that you got to break it up into chunks and listen to it for multiple days because we're just
blowing your mind.
blowing your minds with too much, or maybe it's these velvety voices rocking the pipes and just making you fucking body gooey. I don't know, man, but I'm not stopping.
Not if you're making them gooey. All right, so we're in Venable's office now because I can't follow that up. That's right. Just keep listening. Tim and Emily, of course, are brought before her and told they were fornicating, and they respond with you. There aren't any rules. You're making them up as you go along. And I think Emily calls her she calls her sick. I don't know I forget how she says it, but then just like Venable glances at the tall lady and she just
didn't she call her like an invalid or something?
I think she just called her sick, like in the mind sick, like just what you're doing here is sick. And she just like gives a glance to the tall lady and she just backhands the shit out of her. She's like, hey, last week you got a Sarah Paulson backhand. This week, I don't even have to do it this time. I'll get somebody else to do my backhands for me.
Yeah. You know, it's like, I know there's people in this world that are just good at taking orders and they understand that. Like, right? Like, maybe not the dude that can think of the idea of the crazy monstrosity building being built, but give him the instructions and he's so skilled enough that he'll do it. Like, he's just a good worker dude, right? Like, that's what the tall lady is. Like, she is a just legit worker bee. But when you're that big and it's at the end of the world, like, how brainwashed were you? Or what fucked up shit did Miss Mead and the madam of the house fucking do in front of you that made you go, nah, I'm just going to do it.
I'm following y'all.
Because the fact that, like, I don't care what scene it is and what any movie it is, but when you can just look at someone and that other person without question strike someone, you are at the ultimate peak power of fear power game.
Sounds tiring.
Those people are trained killers and they are fucking scared of you.
Right.
Like, god damn. Or what perks are you offering them that just makes their life go, nah, you know what? Killing for you is way fucking better. I'm cool where I'm at.
Yep. So after the giant backhand, Venable sends them for execution. She's like, it cannot happen fast enough. Get them out of here. Go handle it. So they drag them from the office. Now they drag them to the decon room that Gallant and Stu were scrubbed in. So that's where they're going to perform this execution, not outside. Probably because if they did it outside, they'd be all radiated in. So when they actually get out of this scenario, however they do, it's going to be believable. So Tim is on his knees. Tully has put him on his knees. There's actually somebody there, like a dude who has, like, the executioner guy who has the pistol, and he is getting ready to aim it at him. And Tim's apologizing to Emily while she's being held, like, struggling, and he's like, okay, I'm going to die, so I'm just going to fucking go for it. So he grabs the hose from the spray hose and hits the executioner, grabs a handgun, fires at Meads, hits her in the gut. She stumbles away and out of the room. The tall lady, I mean, once again, without even hesitation, she pulls a fucking expandable baton from somewhere and disarms him. And then she, like, old school Andre the Giant, like, ear clap. Like, claps someone, but, like, claps his head on his ears, and he's out. I'm not sure I've actually seen an ear clap used outside of the wrestling ring, but I know it will fuck somebody up, so I loved it. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Especially those big old hands.
Do you ever seen that competition shit that's, like, in India and Pakistan and stuff, like, where those dudes just sit there and, like, launch palm haymakers at, like, the side of each other's head, like, trying to either, like, rupture the eardrum or, like, chop right the artery hard. Like, oh my god. Like, just imagining actual someone skilled doing that to you. I just feel that would.
I mean, he went down like a sack of potatoes.
Like being punched, or like being punched or kicked. I mean, that hurts, but it's nothing that you can't like kind of stumble off of, right? Like usually, if you get punched and you go down, like you got knocked out or something was broken or ruptured. Like kind of the same thing with a kick. Like it usually takes a little bit of work, but I don't know, man. Like getting struck violently with both hands, like in the ears, in the temples, and like someone landing that right on you with a lot of impact, like that's gonna kind of be like a super body blow. Like it's just gonna buckle you for a minute, like no matter what, like no matter how hard your head is. Like it's like kind of one of those things. Like if done right, this is what's gonna happen.
Right.
All
right. So let's talk about the very last shot. So Meade stumbles into an alcove, a hallway off to the side from where they were. She's, because she ran out of the room. She specifically checks to look if anyone is around, not for help, but to make sure no one sees this. And then she checks her wound, and this is where we see no blood, white liquid. I would actually equate it to like the stuff inside the androids in the Alien franchise, that white liquid. And then you see like sparks and mechanical shit like moving inside of her wound. And her face is like the face of like, oh fuck, I'm going to get found out. Like it's not, I'm surprised I'm an android. Like, so, cause I saw some stuff online, cause it's been a few days. It's Sunday night. The episode came out on Wednesday. Like I've been online. Some folks were like, oh, she didn't know she was an android. Well, if she didn't know she was an android, she wouldn't have been checking the hallway to make sure nobody could, see what she was about to open up and show herself and the camera. So, so she's having to open up her shirt. She don't want anybody seeing this.
Yeah, but she could have just been like looking down the hallway to see if
the boy was following, maybe.
Yeah, or like anyone got out or someone heard it, like whatever. Because when she looks down at herself,
she does look like she's like surprised.
Like she looks like that's not what I've been told to see, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's not what a hamburger looks like.
So the big question is, did she know she was? And then the answer to that question will drive the rest of the whole season. So and let's go both ways. If she knows she is, then there are more than one of her, more than likely in there. Tall lady, maybe a few others, maybe even Miss Venable. They've cloned themselves. Maybe they've downloaded consciousnesses. Maybe they're just meant to look and act like them. Who knows what they are? Why would you build yourself an android and have a cane and a fucked up spine? But whatever. Or she doesn't know she's an android, and now we have this like, everyone's going to see everybody has to cut their arm and see who fucking bleeds white. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, well, that also gets back, like, if she's found out.
If she doesn't try to hide it from folks. Right. But then I need more. But
then it could even be one of those things where we all know that they work for, the co-op.
Cooperative, yeah.
So maybe they were all human at one point in time, but given like what happened to them, let's say the co-op put them under and gave them souped up shit to make them last 150 years or whatever. Or if it was just something like, your servants, you watch these things and we've now fixed you so you don't get sick, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe that's why those parts were in there or whatever. And so, yeah, she could not know. But then it could be like, well, what if the headmistress lady knew the whole time?
Right.
And then it, like, even though she was having some kind of quote unquote affair with it, it's like, okay, you go to another scenario. If robot didn't know, but you knew, so you knew you were having that affair anyways, but you were also dressing her up in purple. So were you kind of like secretly having an uprising because you're also one of them, but you're just the one that knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or she doesn't know, and like she knew that she's really on the inside, and now it's kind of like, oh, I gotta hide all of this because it like ruins the system or whatever, you know. But then it gets back to like the even like kind of the main one. Well, what if she's found out? Then you're gonna have everybody like drawing straws, going, "Well, now you got to cut your finger off." Well, I'm not gonna stab myself, and then we just have like 4 episodes of everyone fucking bickering until someone finally just like stab somebody and they go, "Oh God, they're human."
Right.
And then like now we have another death, right. You know, and then it's like, oh God damn it, season.
Yeah.
You know, like that's, I hate to say it, but because of last season and kind of even with some of the seasons before, how they just kind of leave a lot of this open-ended stuff, man. Like it would not surprise me one bit if this whole season, even though it's in like a timeline, is just a big, like, what the fuck hysteria things like, hey, we're just in the future, blah, 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 blah. Like, I this whole Antichrist, like, plot line thing, like, honestly, at the end of the day, I don't even think it's going to fucking matter.
Mm-hmm. What if it's just
what
if it's just a simulation being run, like, the only live people are, like, one person who's way in the future and is, like, reliving this as, like, a holodeck type situation? That'd be it.
Nah, dude, like, I don't think this is, like, we're going to pan out and some dude's gonna take off some goggles somewhere and like it's gonna pop out and say Apocalypse VR.
What was the name of that game in Rick and Morty?
House, you know, like, yeah, like I don't think it's gonna be that, you know. And even if they did do something like that, which I mean it wouldn't be weird at this point. To me, to do something like that, you have to have me. You have to give me a lot more in the eyes of camera view, right? Like if we're talking, I don't want to see the 2 people in the conversation. Like you have to give me a lot of back and forth of like who's talking, right?
Right.
Or only make me see it from one point, or just there was a rat on the floor and for whatever reason I'm seeing this little bit of scene from the rat's point of view. Just so like as we're watching the show we go, "Huh, that was weird." But in reality, it was because the guy pushed A on the controller and accidentally switched to the rat camera, right? You know, like when you come to find out what the hell happened, like you can rationalize a scene like that.
Right.
Like there's so much just weird, spooky shit going on in this that for someone just to pop out of a simulator, like you got, like, who made that, right? Like, who recorded that moment in history, right? Like, let's say it is the survival. Like this is the apocalypse happened and mankind made it out, and they have a computer that you can just walk in holodeck thing and fucking hit 1975 and go to it and live it out. Do whatever you want to do. Like what person would have been like, "Hey, remember that time that the apocalypse was happening on the earth? And everybody lost everything, and all of our darkest fears and nightmares and everything ever came true. And we were the only ones that made it out of it. Generations later, our kids are going to want to fucking ride that shit. We need to make this a game."
Right.
If that happened, I would never watch American Horror Story again.
Because you have to, because you know we're going to review next season too, till it's over.
No, I wouldn't, dude. I would boycott it. I'd be like, you find a fucking stand-in. Not doing it.
Oh, man. That's going to be great when that actually happens and they pull off the VR goggles and you're like, son of a bitch.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I will want to punch you through the internet like you wanted me to.
That's right. Kentucky beat Mississippi State last night heartily, and this morning they came out with the new coaches poll or whatever, and they're like number 17. I have never seen numbers. I think I may have seen like 25 in front of our name like one time, like in my lifetime.
I think you guys were ranked
a few years ago, like Randall Cobb. I think Randall Cobb years might have been ranked once for a hot second. I don't know, but anyways, it doesn't matter. We're freaking 17 right now, and I'm writing it like it's great. And you were giving me shit online. I'm like, don't do this to me. Like, look, we fuck with each other all the time on the podcast, off the podcast. Like, don't fuck with me right now. Like, I was the only person in my family who had hope last night. I was telling my sister, I was like, I got a strange hope about tonight's game. Like, I think we can do it. And by God, man, it was great.
There was quite a few upsets in football.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Is like upset Saturday. I was like, we can't. Why is it got to be fucking everybody? Why can't it just be us? Trying to steal it from me. Anyways, okay. Well, any final words? I think we've pretty much hit every possible scenario for next week.
No, I mean, like, I can say that this podcast, though, does save me from hating American Horror Story.
Just talking it out.
Because, like, I'll watch it, and I personally don't watch episodes again until they're all out. Because, like, when I want to go back and watch through, like, I know how I like watching TV. I love chain watching it. The only reason I watch anything weekly is because you and I do a weekly podcast about it. Like, I would just wait till this whole season's done and then just fucking chain watch it if we didn't do this. So, but when we talk about it, like, even after my initial reaction of liking it, whether I like it or not, like, after we talk about it, I always kind of go, well, here's my ideas. Let me see how many of them can stick. And I feel like if I hit the head on a couple of these, not because I was trying to guess the plot, just because I think it would be cool if this happened or whatever, I'll probably end up liking the show. So when the next episode rolls around, I'm actually kind of eager for it because I'm like, hey, let me see if I can do it, you know? And it's not necessarily that I want to get them right. Like, I don't want to guess what the writers do. I love being surprised by what the writers give me. It's like, I just want to feel like what I set out to get in the show was given to me. You know, like, if I feel like this and that kind of needed to be caught up by, say, episode 4, right? Even though it happened in episode 1, I'm like, you need to finish that out by here and or circle back to it by this. Like, if they give that to me, then I'm like, okay, we can keep moving forward. But it's like, when that doesn't happen, I don't want to keep watching the show. But then we talk about it and I build up my interest again by thinking of all the crazy shit of ways to connect it, you know? So it's like, I'm going to fucking do it.
We got a 10 episode season, so there's no time for dilly-dallying. If you're setting up stuff, you've done a couple episodes of setting stuff up. If we don't have a big picture now, I don't know what there is left to explain. So now we need to let everything go to shit, which is the way American Horror Story should be. So we look forward to the episode coming out here in a couple days, and we want to thank everybody who listened all the way to the end. We love you guys the most. And don't forget to go over to twodadsreview.com. Check us out over there if you didn't find us there, and all the nice places you can listen to podcasts. And thank you once again, and we will catch you guys next week.
Yes, take care.